Disclaimer. We are regular guys who love to talk Bone Thugs and Harmony. We do not represent Bone Thugs or any Bone affiliate. We are also not Bone Thugs experts. The views and information you hear in this podcast may be based on personal opinion. Please feel free to leave corrections and clarifying information in the comments. And enjoy.
Do I need to record?
What's up, y'all? It's SHOTZ, Beyond the Harmony, BeyondTheHarmony.com. Back again with the one and only
Jonathan.
And he's finally got his name in the credits. If there's only one and only, there could only be one more. His name is...
Yes, y'all. It is Matthew Weaver.
Oh, and we made sure for season 4, Matt Weaver got the intro he deserved. It is season 4. It's the fastest we've ever jumped back into a season. Unbelievable.
Heck yeah, man. And how did we figure it out? Because each season has to have a new theme to it to keep Cecil West interested.
Yeah.
And we have this time up your sleeve.
Well, let me just do this. Let me do the regular check. How is it out there? Can you hear everybody okay? I want to make sure that everything's going well. You guys know with these lives how tricky some of the shit can be. So how are we sounding out there to the listeners? Can you hear Matt? Can you hear John? Can you hear me? Anybody give me that mic check. Well, I'm waiting though. Yeah, so every episode's kind of got the theme. Yeah, Jeremy Jones gave me a thumbs up, so it sounds like everybody's doing good. Wow, if we got off, we got off to a start with no glitches. Is this even Beyond the Harmony live? Shut the fuck up. So that's exactly it. This is Beyond the Harmony live. So a couple things that I guess that I would say is, our very first season when we were feeling things out, we had no idea really what it was. We knew we were doing interviews. We knew we were finding out about Faces of Death. All those other non-Faces of Death interviews that happened, yeah, they were cool. We were like, we got to do these too. Mothug, all this, whatever. But it was all about Faces of Death in season 1, and everything was like a bonus. Season 2, that's when we really looked to expand and open the world up. We were like, okay, we got all the Faces of Death we really need. Anything for Faces of Death after this is a plus, but I think we got what we need. Season 2, let's really dig in and let's find out, some other shit. That's when we had Demiza. That's when we had Sin. We just had some big season 2 interviews. Season 3, y'all know that was the introduction of the video. Needed to bring the face, bring it to you live. And for season 4, I'm happy to announce that the entirety of your season 4 will be brought to you in this live format. Every guest, every interview will be brought to you here live. No cuts, no edits. You're getting it as raw and uncut as we get it while we're doing the interviews. So that's your season 4. I'll also say that you'll notice that I haven't called it Thug Thursday. We are here on a Thursday, but we're kind of transitioning into, I guess, what we would just say Beyond the Harmony Live. And I think we're going to shoot for Thursdays. But if it works better for a guest, if it works better For us, if it maybe works better for y'all and we find out a different day of the week is better, we're moving into Beyond the Harmony Live. So that means one of these interviews could potentially happen on a Friday night or a Saturday night or whatever. Sometimes Thursday at 7 o'clock isn't great for guests. It made it really hard on poor Tony Tone to finally get on the show, and that time frame was one of the things that did it. And I just think that at this point, we want to kind of play around with other times, other days, see what happens.
Yeah, and as far as like these lives go, how are we going to field questions? Because now that we have a live group with us, experiencing all this information live with us, they have the chat, but we want to keep the continuity of the interviews going.
Yeah.
How are we gonna get the fans to have an opportunity to interject their questions and whatnot?
So here's the deal, okay? I'm not taking calls on these interviews, okay? However, we still will have opportunity for you guys to get your questions in. Keep in mind, I'm still doing what I do. I have 65 questions for 101 tonight, and that's just what's written down. I think of shit off the top while we're talking. But if there's something I'm not asking you want to know, you're free to always put it in the comments. We're taking down every question. That this show runs on your support, and your support matters. So if you want to get that guaranteed question in there, you can drop a $5 super chat. You can head over to streamlabs.com/BeyondTheHarmony, or you can cash app us at Beyond the Harmony, at least a 5 spot, and John will guarantee that ends up in the queue. But it's just like anything. You don't have to do that. We are still going to get in all the questions that we can. So if you can't do the super chat donation, drop your question anyway. He's still going to, queue it up. But we're going to make sure that those supporting us get supported, back, and we get their question in. I will say with anything with Beyond the Harmony, there's a disclaimer. The disclaimer behind your guaranteed question is if you ask some asshole thing or you ask something really just fucking stupid, and if you've been a listener for a long time, you know what that means. There's not an amount of money that will make us fuck around with a guest or anything like that. So, be a responsible listener, but those are your ways to get your questions in. And if it goes well, or if we ever have a guest on that wants to field a couple call-ins, maybe we'll do that too. But this is how we're going to explore season 4. It's season 4 and it's live, and we wanted your input on the fly. And that was a big part of this was, we people watch the interviews, and the aftermath is they're like, oh, I wish you would have asked this. And it was like, fuck, we should have asked that. That's a great question. It's that hindsight. This will give us a chance to have you guys there with us. So we're kicking it off with 101, original Graveyard Shift member, a founding member, featured on SHOTZ to the Double GLOCK. And SHOTZ to the Double GLOCK, there's always been so much mystery. If you guys look at the Genius lyrics, and most of the lyrics, it says that, it features Gates. It also says that it features Mo Hart. We know from other interviews that, that isn't the case, that Poetic Hustlers had a member named D-Lo, and that the Graveyard Shift had a member named 101. And I think that the mystery of why 101 was featured on E.1999 Eternal, and then he vanished and a new member in. Look, I don't know about you, but this is the type of shit that I actually come here for. Okay, yeah. Some people are still confused on the mission statement of this show. They're like, why don't you get Bone? Why don't you get Bone? Why don't you go search Bone Thugs and Harmony fucking interview and see how many come up and just go get your answer. This is some shit you're not going to get anywhere else. And if you're the hardcore Bone fan that likes to know all the little crevices of the story, this should have you hype right now. Yeah,
this 101 interview tonight is the epitome of our mission statement of what Beyond the Harmony has always been about. And anything that's going to come out of this is going to, just like every interview we do, no matter how minute, remote, unheard of it is, it advances what we understand. There hasn't been a single one we did that we didn't leave not knowing more than when we came in. So it's not like going in and finding out about the crazy shooting wish in the leg for the 50th time.
Yeah.
Everything tonight is going to be all brand new.
Yeah, it's just the type of thing I think strongly to the feeling I got when we interviewed like K Chill rather, and just like the level of mystery and excitement to find out brand new things that I had. And I always get a thrill out of interviewing whoever, because whoever we interview, we're going to find out something new. Case in point, okay? Jason Bibb, who designed the cover of Faces of Death, who you would feel like maybe this is the most minor story, we find out that he actually gave LazyBone his very first copy of Faces of Death, okay? That's a tidbit that you just couldn't get without interviewing him. So no matter who you interview, you find out something cool that you didn't know. But this one, with this situation, being featured on SHOTZ, being a original member of GYS, which I would say is like, dude, ask MoThug fucking fans, and you're gonna have a battle about who was the best group. I know that there's some hardcore GYS members. I would go out on a limb to say that, fans rather, and I would go out on a limb to say that there are GYS fans that feel that Graveyard Shift is the superior group of all groups involved. Okay? Of all groups involved. So I know the GYS fans, it's a crazy cult following, and this is gonna allow us some really cool info.
And on top of that, in like the parlance of Star Trek fans and Star Wars fans of trying to create the ultimate nerddom of Bone, this guy was on Eternal. So this is a background character that was on Eternal. So we're digging deep. This is like the Star Wars original trilogy. We're getting stories from some of the characters that were in it. And I mean, I'm not trying to relate this to Star Wars, but you get what I mean in that it's not like we just found some random dude. This is a guy that was on SHOTZ to the Double Glock 101 Graveyard Shift. This is ultimate MoThug lore right here. I'm fired up.
I want to point out the power of the channel. You guys remember we got the Majesty interview based on the Notorious Thugs video, and he saw it and reached out. A similar thing here happened. I didn't find 101. Okay, basically one of 101's homies heard the Sin interview, heard that 101 was talked about, and was like, yo, 101's got a story, and he helped me and 101 get linked up. You know what I mean? So this is the power of the channel again. 101 wasn't out searching for us. I definitely had, if you think that I thought I could find the guy that was featured on one fucking verse, how would I even start? How would I even start there? I wouldn't even know what to do, bro. But the power of the channel brought him, and I think we're gonna get some good stuff. So, yeah, Joseph, I was wondering how you found him. Yeah, man. So one of his homies was basically listening to the Sin interview. His name's Brian. Brian actually runs a clothing line called Sinclair's Finest, so make sure you guys check out Sinclair's Finest. You can actually go tinyurl.com/Sinclair's Finest. He has an entire clothing line, and he heard Sin and said, yo, 101's got a story. He didn't even know how to find 101 yet, and we'll jump into why, the logistics once we have 101 on, but He started working on it, and I would say probably within 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, he had made a bridge between me and 101. And that was a while ago. I've been talking to 101 since, and I've really built a good working rapport with him, and just conversational. And I would venture to say, and we haven't had the interview yet, but I doubt that this is the last time we have him on the show, because he's got such a good personality, and I've enjoyed talking to him so much that I'm like, we're now getting into the 4th season. By the 5th, 6th, 7th season of this, think of Vlad. Vlad brings people on, and they don't even talk about anything to do with them. Vlad and, whoever, they talk about all kinds of shit. And I think in time, as you see these repeating guests, that's what ends up happening. You could only have Soulja Boy on again. How much more could we talk Bone and MoThug with Soulja Boy? Probably not a fuck ton, but we could talk about him and what he's doing, and just relevant hip hop stuff in general. And hopefully that's what happens with 101. I've really enjoyed, chopping it up with him.
Absolutely, man. So we'll see what we got tonight. Have you guys had a chance to check out the Fleshbone music video. I don't even know if we have time to get into this, but Flesh and Lazy got some new music videos. You had a chance to check them out?
I saw the new. No, I saw both of them. Right, Lazy's the one. It's got Rocky Rock in it, and yeah. And then the Flesh one. I'll let Matt talk the Flesh one. The Flesh one gets all thumbs up. I know that Matt is about it.
Man, it's on another level for me. The way he hyped it up so well, the way the video turned out, I think is exactly what he was going for with the story built in. I watched the video a lot. That's more than I've watched a music video in a while. It is everything that is supposed to be Bone Thugs in 2021 to me.
Eddie says I'm waiting on Wishbone solo. Where is it? I don't know, bro. Listen, we answer a lot of questions on Beyond the Harmony. We have really been able to answer some shit that nobody's been able to answer in 25 years. I would say that we have uncovered single-handedly the most, or at this point triple-handedly the most information that was unknown. But if you think for a fucking second I can tell you where Wishbone's solo is, you guys are you're asking for impossibilities now, Eddie. I can't help. I have no idea.
Has any interviewer asked Wish? Because I mean, of all the same questions that get asked, I'm sure has Wish been asked that yet? And what did he say?
Well, did somebody just did the thing, right? They paid and sent him a cameo.
Right. That's right. Wasn't it? Was it Therese? I think it was somebody that's Kevin Starks, right? Was it Kevin Starks? It was somebody we know that put that question together.
I don't know, but I think we got a Wishbone answer, like it's coming soon.
It's coming soon someday. Yeah. Well, it seems more than ever that Wish may actually pull it off. I don't know.
All right, let's see if we can get my man 101 on. It's about that time. Try to bring him in.
Yeah. So in the meantime, hey. So while Cecil's connecting that, Matt, how'd you feel about the superb acting? Oh, here we go.
Oh,
got some backlight.
Yeah.
You got me.
Yeah, I got you. I lost that light. Oh, there we go. There it is. Boom. Light looks good. 101 in the building. Original Graveyard Shift member, featured on E.1999 Eternal. We've been chopping it up for a hot minute to make this interview happen, and here we are, brother. Welcome to Beyond the Harmony.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. No, it's my pleasure. We've had the opportunity to talk a lot, and leading up to this, and I know that this is something that the fans are really gonna appreciate. You got a hell of a story. Every story, though, you know where it starts. Before we jump into the Graveyard Shift, before we jump into Eternal, before we jump into your trials and tribulations, I just like to kind of to set the foundation of where did it all start. Are you Cleveland born and raised, or where did this all jump off for you in life?
Yeah, I'm born on 91st and St. Clair.
Cleveland the whole time, and.
But not the whole time. I was born there, and after elementary school, I moved to Houston.
Oh, shit. So you spent a little time out in Texas.
I spent most of my formative years in Houston, Texas, on the south side.
So at what point then did you end up back in Cleveland and everything to hook back up?
Close to the end of my high school years, my mom decided to move back to Cleveland, so we moved back to Cleveland.
Okay. I got you. And
always back and forth.
Were you rapping by then? Like, were you rapping like when you were in Texas, or did you not start until you came back to like Cleveland? Like, when did that part of your life start?
To be honest, man, when I was a kid, I just wanted to be anything hip hop. I started off breakdancing, graffiti artisting, everything.
This meeting is being recorded.
When I got to Houston, it just took off for me because I started meeting a lot of people. Houston had a bigger music scene than Cleveland did.
Yeah.
When I got there.
Oh yeah, I bet, especially at that time. It's like you had Texas really lifting off, around that time.
Right,
so.
And I always ended up in the right places at the right time with the right people, even as a kid. So it just started forming me into a rapper once I was in Houston and around that.
So you're in Houston, you start rapping before you get back to Cleveland. Were you 101 at that time, or what were you rapping under?
I don't even think I had a nickname there. My name was just Lil Joe. That's what everybody called me in Houston. But I actually didn't start rapping until I met Easy as a kid.
Oh, you met Easy as a kid?
Yeah.
Tell me about this.
My cousin that was raised, because when I was living in Houston, I lived with my uncle. And he had an older son that was like my big brother. And one of his real good friends ran a record store on the south side of Houston in Missouri City. So everybody that came to Houston would come to that record store to promote their new albums and whatever. So he would call us to come up there and get to meet him before the crowd came or when the door was locked and stuff like that. So I'm like, I think about 12 or 13, and NWA was up there. So we went up there and we ended up locked in with NWA. And I ended up standing over looking at some albums with Easy, just out of the crowd. And I told him I wanted to be a rapper.
Wow.
And he asked me, he said, man, can you rap? I'm like, nah, but I be practicing. So he like, you practice a lot? I said, yeah, I practice a lot. He said, well, when you get good, call me. I said, man, you ain't gonna, how I'm gonna call you? So he gave me an autographed album of the Easy Does It with his phone number is on all his albums. So he say, this is my office number. When you get good, call me and I'll make sure you get a career. I said, you promise? He like, yeah. I said, you ain't gonna answer the phone. He said, this is my office number. Call this number and ask for Eric Wright when you ready. And I'll answer the phone and talk to you.
Wow. That's crazy. So you had this, that is crazy. So you kind of had this ruthless foundation well before anything like Graveyard Shift, Bone, Mo Thug, your connection there. You already had like a connection over with Easy.
Right, and at that time, I went straight home that night and rewrote Easy's song, Boys in the Hood, called the St. Clair Boys in the Hood, and rewrote his song, because that's what all I was good at, I could rewrite other people's music.
That's dope.
So I rewrote that, but I was in Houston writing about the boys on St. Clair.
So you're in Houston, but you eventually end up back in Cleveland. Had you already met like the guys in GYS or Bone before you moved to Houston, or did you meet them when you came back? Like, how did those connections happen?
No, I had never met them before. When I came back, we were staying up in a condo complex called Georgetown in Euclid, right on the outskirts of Cleveland. And I used to come down because all my family, everybody from 91st, my grandmama lived on 91st for 50 years. So when I got back to Cleveland, the only place I knew where to go was back home. So I went back home, and all my partners and my family and everybody I knew was hustling on 99. So instead of going back to 91st or whatever, I ended up moving around with them on 99.
Do you know about what year that was that you were back?
That was 91 going into 92. I graduated in 92. So it was like 91, 92.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So that would have been, Bone was probably just starting to get together as like Bone Enterprise. Faces of Death came out in 93. So when we'll do GYS and Bone separately. So how did you get introduced to the guys in Bone?
All right, like I said, we was on 99th, and
Yep.
99th got real hot because it was a hot block. A lot was going on over there, and a lot of people ended up dispersing to other places, 102nd, 101st, 103rd, 95th. Everybody went back to their respective areas, and I ended up being one of the main people that stayed on 99 because that's the only place I really knew was home when I came back from out of town. So I was basically hustling out a house that Crazy Bone family stayed in at the time.
And so you got introduced to Cray first?
Well, I met his mom and his sisters, and I kind of just was like their caretaker. You know, I felt like to protect them because it was really, really almost a house full of women. So, you know what I'm saying? I took to them first, and they was always telling me about their brother. He was in jail at the time. I think he had made a mistake and shot Wishbone, and somehow, I don't know if that's what sent him to jail, but whatever it is, he was in jail at the time, but he was on his way home. And they was playing his tape for me. And at that time, I had been bringing music from Houston. Every time I came to Cleveland, I would record the mix parties on the radio station. I think it was FM 108, the mix parties. And I would make mixtapes and take them back to Houston because they played music up here that they didn't play down there.
Yeah.
And when I came up here, I would bring music from Houston, underground music that's only sold down there. Like DJ Screw was one of my first homeboys when I was young. So I was listening to Screw music before anybody up here even knew Screw music existed.
Yeah, and of course DJ Screw became really big in Bone culture. He did a lot of Screw mixes to Bone songs, and Screw
Well,
was.
it's a lot of Screw tapes, but that's not DJ Screw.
Tell me, make me hip.
Let's be specific. DJ Screw was signed with Big Time Records. First, he was making them out of his house, where he would screw different music, and we used to go to his house on weekends and buy the tapes when he first started selling them. But it was hard to mass produce tapes.
For sure.
So everybody got double cassette players and doing him a favor, trying to make tapes for him so he could sell them out of his house on the weekends. And dudes start duplicating Screw's music down there. So it was a lot of different guys who start slowing music down and chopping it and calling it Screw. But like he said, if it's not DJ Screw, then it's not a real Screw. That's like saying it's a DJ 101 or a rap 101, but I didn't do it. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So, it was a lot of discrepancy about that, but I had actual Screw tapes, but I also bought a lot of other guys' tapes because I just love slowed down music because that's how I grew up.
That must have been culturally, as far as hip hop, that's a big difference between Houston and Cleveland. So it must have had impact on your style in comparison to have like kind of a foundation in both those areas, because one's Midwest and then one's definitely like a heavy South. Like, do you feel like you took influences from, both regions?
Oh, absolutely. But my main influence from Houston was the unity of it, because the whole South Side rode together, the whole North Side rode together, the way Rap-A-Lot and Big Time and everybody fashioned their business. My culture was different than the culture of Cleveland.
Yeah.
So the way that I thought, the way that I looked at things, when I seen people that had talent, the way that I looked at it was different than the average individual up here, because up here it's a little more disunity.
So, okay, you're back in Cleveland. You've kind of got introduced to Cray's family and stuff, and that's how you get in with Cray. Did you know them? Were you around them when they were Bone Enterprise and they put out Faces of Death? That was like 93.
No, like I said, when I really got hip to him, that tape was already out.
That was already moving. Yeah,
Crazy was missing in action, and the guy Kermit who actually put that tape out up at Dawes Rapid Creation, I went up there to get him to sell Houston music, and that's how I got cool with Kermit. And actually, he was the first one who gave me my own personal copy of their music, along with other artists that he was affiliated with. But I had gave him phone numbers of record labels and stuff in Houston so he could sell the music that I was basically promoting without being able to sell it to people.
Yeah, Kermit was the big deal, at that time in Cleveland, especially if you were a rapper. This was the guy that you were kind of going to go to be put on. One of the big acts that Kermit worked with, that also worked with Bone, was K Chill. K Chill was kind of a big deal around that time with his record. Did you ever meet K Chill or have any interactions with him?
Yeah, I had a couple occasions to deal with K Chill. I knew of his music before I knew of him. I didn't even know he was from the hood when his music came out. But like I said, I was anything hip hop. I never discounted nothing in hip hop. Anything that came out, I was interested in it, especially if it was from where I felt like I was from.
Yeah.
Cleveland and Houston. That was it. So what I'm saying, I loved his music when I first heard it. The Boom Booms in my trunk, all that. I played that.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting when, talking to K Chill, because he was like, hey, he's like, I could have done this, but we knew the music that was going to push. So it's like me and Kermit formulated more as like the ladies smooth man. He's real smooth on his records, and, he did his thing for a while. And that he played a big part in helping putting Bone, put that record together and get it out there. His interview was really good. So I always try to ask everybody from Cleveland, if they'd had any interaction with him.
Yeah, I had good ones and I had bad ones. Once I got to know him, we had a couple interactions that I wasn't totally happy with. Even though we had some happy ones, we had some unhappy ones. I guess he was disgruntled about the Bone thing for whatever they had going on before that. And he had at one point got me to get on a song with him, and then he went and changed the song and made it like he was rapping Dog and Bone.
Oh, damn. So it looked like you were.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I'm saying? The hook was kind of general, but then he wouldn't change his verses to make it as if we were specifically targeting Bone. And that's at the time we was all friends, so I was offended.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't do that to somebody. You don't, you know what I'm saying, set them up on a song and then go to put it out. So me and him fell out. Now, you know, if you put that song out, we're gonna have a problem.
Wow. Yeah, I mean he's definitely had a spotty past with people, and that's gonna happen. You know, you think about a hip hop scene, and you got so many people working in a hip hop scene, especially one where you had something like Stony Burke and Kermit that had the ability to put people on and press them. It's like there's gonna be a lot of dog eat dog there, and there was definitely feelings after the Bone situation. Around this time,
we had feelings after everything went good, but when everybody was over there struggling, I wasn't seeing a lot of them cats pulling up. You know what I'm saying? If we did, it was high and by, but when it came down to the get down, it was time to go to LA and do something. Dudes wasn't there. They wasn't showing up like that.
Everybody in the chat is asking if you remember the name of the song that was you and K Chill made together.
Nah, I remember the hook was something like even with $1 million in the white man's eyes, you still ain't shit that's understood. You could sell 1 million records, something, but you still ain't shit in the hood.
Well, there you guys go. You got there's a little piece of it. So if any of you want to investigate, you may be able to find that. I found K Chill. Y'all can find the song.
I used to have no, you can't find that song.
Did it never come out?
No, you won't find that song because, like I said, we had a discrepancy about that. And if that song would have ever touched ground or touched people's ears, we would have had a real serious problem.
Damn. So it never came out. You heard it in advance and put the block on it coming out.
I don't play that because guys play a lot of songs with music. One time they had me in a studio with some guys I supported, Midwest Mafia, from the city and from the neighborhood.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Yeah, and I'm in the studio supporting them, and a guy asked me to help him with a hook, just to make the hook sound like a lot more people. So I'm like, yeah, no problem. So I go in there and I do that. And then when he dropped the album, he put Feature in the Graveyard shit.
Yeah. Do you talk on like the intro or something of it?
Nah, I don't say nothing except I'm in the crowd.
You're just on the hook.
Make a hook sound fat. You won't know I'm there or nothing. I just sound like a crowd.
Yeah.
So you can't feature the Graveyard shit because I sound like I'm in the crowd. That's just a marketing technique that people play games in this music. And I started to realize the real cutthroatness of how this industry worked as I kept experiencing.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that song. I think it was called
93rd High Roller.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you about that because you're all right. It said Feature in the Graveyard Shift. And it's a little harder today to get away with that kind of stuff. That was a real regular thing, you know, whether you were like a local rapper or industry rapper, that people would do little things like that. And they're like, well, you're technically on it. You're in the Graveyard Shift.
It's like the group out of New York. They named their album The Graveyard Shift, but didn't put nothing else on the cover to make people, you know what I'm saying, even have the insinuation that it was our album.
We were talking off.
The Grave Diggers.
Yeah, the Grave Diggers.
Grave Diggers, yeah.
The Grave Diggers named their album The Graveyard Shift, and that's all they put on their cover.
Yeah.
People
what about the
games.
Graveyards? Did you guys ever interact with the Graveyard Soldiers? Did you ever see that album?
Nah, I don't. Nah.
they sounded like E.1999 Eternal Bone. So they weren't really trying to sound like the Graveyard Shift, but they were totally using the name and just shifted it to Graveyard Soldiers. It's not that bad, actually.
The Graveyard Shift. that wasn't an easy task to accomplish, or to sound like Bone. That wasn't an easy task. Them guys is masters of what they do.
So something that we had talked about a couple times, just privately, that I've been really excited to kind of talk about and hear the story about is, you had mentioned to me that I believe you said it was on 99th that Jerry Heller's family owned a building out there. And for anybody listening that may not know who Jerry is, Jerry, of course, involved with Easy and Ruthless Records. And when you told me that, I was like, holy shit, like Jerry's got some roots out in Cleveland. So can you tell me more about that?
Well, the way I found out was because when we was in Ruthless office one time, I reminded Easy about the conversation me and him had in that record store. And he remembered it. He said, yeah, I remember that. So I see you did it. So I'm like, yeah. So Jerry was in the office when we was having a conversation about it. And he said, it's ironic how things go, but it's not all about that either. He said, you know where I'm from? And I say, where? He said, 99th and St. Clair. So I'm like, man, get the fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? 99th and St. Clair. So he say, if you go in the stores on the corner of the street, used to be a store up there, a Arab store called D&J. It was a church on the corner. It's like a 4-suite building. I think I sent you a picture of it.
Yeah.
And he said that if you go in the basements of that building, there's holes through the walls from one storefront to the next in the basement that we used to use when the police come. And I knew he knew what he was talking about, because when we used to need money and wanted to chase the Arabs out the city, we used to break in the church and go down through the walls, through the basement, and come up in the Arab store and take what we wanted. So I knew he knew what he was talking about, because I had used them very times.
Wow. That's crazy shit.
Right.
Wow, that's crazy. So you've had all this like pre-bone, like just like ruthless connection almost in a way, like, you know, like in different ways, meeting Easy, being in this building that Jerry's family owns. That's crazy. It kind of set the foundation for where you were headed later on. We had talked about meeting Bone and kind of, you know, just how you settled in there. But the big one here and the real thing that I think that I've tried to figure out for a long time, and everyone, is the beginning of Graveyard Shift. So how did you meet the members in Graveyard Shift? And I assume the initial members were you, Sin, and Tombstone. But what was the first lineup, and how did you meet them, and how did things kind of come together?
Well, like I said, I was up in Euclid and Georgetown, and I was on house arrest a lot of time. I stayed in trouble even as a kid, and I started a little group up there called the Hellbound Squad Mob, right? So you know, we up there practicing, and this is time I'm still pulling the radio with some instrumentals up to a radio with record, and I'm rapping over instrumentals that's already out there, and I'm looping them so I can keep rapping, you know. And I'm coming down on 99th. And at the time, I had named myself the GYS, the Grave Young Soul, because I always made dark music. Like I said, the group was the Hellbound Squad Mob. I was just always into dark music, dark sounds. The Gangsta Nip was one of my favorite artists back then. You know, the horror movie, Chucky, Bushwick. You know, I was all into that whole era. So at the time when I got down to 99th, first I ended up hooking up with the other Bone members before we actually decided to create the Graveyard Shift. We didn't create the Graveyard Shift until Bone left to go to LA. Before that, I was just a Graveyard Shifter because, like I said, I was on house arrest. So my PO as a juvenile might call me about 10, 11 o'clock, make sure I'm in the house. After that, she finished. So that's when I would leave the house.
So, okay. So there wasn't a Graveyard Shift until the move to go to Cali.
Right.
Okay. But that was just you, T-Rock, and Sin?
Yeah, the original Graveyard Shift was me, T-Rock, Sin.
Okay. All right. So then help me clarify, because everyone has always known about Boo being a member, but we've never had really anything outside of that and the fact that he was murdered. So at what point, if it started about the California time, at what point does Boo come in, and what was like the thought process on adding him?
Boo came in after the California move, after the Easy contract, and when we really sat down and said, this is what we're gonna do as a group, then my vision for the group that I felt like I had originated was for it to grow almost like the Wu-Tang Clan, where everybody had their own identity. We could branch out and do what we wanted to do. We had different styles, because the Graveyard Shift, the word shift also means shifter, to be able to shift into different dialogues, into different characters, into different things. So to be able to do that, you need those different characters. So whenever I would run across different people that, in my mind, I was interviewing them for a possibility to be with the Graveyard Shift. And when I ran across Boo, I just felt like he brought something strong. He brought a big energy to the table. He was a big young dude with a lot of energy, and I felt this energy, and I wanted him to be a part of the Graveyard Shift. So when I brought him to the table, Sin and Tombstone agreed, and we were supposed to make some music with him, because the very first concert that Bone was going to do in Cleveland was at a spot called the Agora down on 55th and Euclid, and we was going to open up for him. So that was a perfect time to bring Boo into the fold because the Graveyard Shift had never been heard yet. Creeping on a Come Up was just coming out. 1999 Eternal hadn't been made. We hadn't made our mark on music yet. So it was a perfect time to bring people in. And unfortunately, right before that concert, Boo was murdered. And that was almost like our real first promotion.
Wow.
Unfortunately.
Wow, so. All right, let me just ask a couple clarifying because I want to make sure that I'm catching everything. So Boo came in before SHOTZ of the Double Glock was made.
Yes.
Okay, so Eternal wasn't made yet, but Boo came in. So did you guys go out to California a different time, or was it?
Yeah, we all went out to California after the Creeping on a Come Up tour was basically over. When they was finished promoting that, and that was after we shot all the videos in the city, then they was calling us, come on out to Cali, we're gonna do this Mo Thug thing. So we jumped on some plane tickets. I think either we paid for our own tickets at the time, or either Ruthless sent them. I don't remember. But whatever it is, we showed up out there. Me, T-Rock, and Sin went. You know, T-Rock was originally from LA.
Yeah.
So when we got there and got to the airport, nobody was there to pick us up. So we ended up taking a cab to T-Rock's family house down on Crenshaw. And I ended up having to go buy another Easy Tape to call the Ruthless office because I always know that's the number since I was a kid to get in touch with Easy. And we called their number and they got in touch with Lazy them, and they ended up coming to pick us up from T-Rock Dad's house later that evening.
Before we move off it, just because I think it's important, can you just kind of talk about the impact of you guys losing Boo? It sounded like he was newer around you guys. Like, can you just talk about that impact and what it had on you as a group?
I mean, it has never been a positive thing to be called the Graveyard Shift, and people keep ending up in the grave, first and foremost. So, you know, to bring someone in and for someone to die. However, let me go back before that. Sin had a Ouija board, and sometime we had occasion to go and play with it. One time, me, T-Rock, and Sin, right before we brought Boo in, or around the time we brought Boo in, we sat at the Ouija board just playing, not really, you know, taking nothing serious. But we asked the Ouija board, would the Graveyard Shift get on? And the little mechanism on the board went straight to T-Rock, went all the way over to the end of the board to him, and then went straight to the word no. And we asked it again, and it went straight over there to the end of the board, and it went straight to the word no. Wow. And right after that, Boo died. And it was almost an omen to me of what was to come if we didn't make the right moves. Whether I believed in what the Ouija board or if somebody moved it or any of that kind of stuff, it just me, I'm a spiritual being. And when I see certain things, that resonates with me. So when we lost Boo, it made me start really questioning what was our destiny? How was our destiny gonna unfold? What would we do to manifest our own destiny outside of what's already predicted by this little piece of board game? Wow. So it affected me tremendously, but it gave us a lot of negative publicity because people don't know that rap concerts had been banned in the city of Cleveland for over a decade before the Bone and we came about. The mayor at the time, Mike White, ended up lifting that ban specifically because of Bone. So the very first rap concert that was going to be inside the city ended up being shrouded with a murder. It wasn't good.
Wow.
And then our very first concert turned into a riot at the very same spot. So it really wasn't good, positive publicity coming with us from the outset.
You guys had a Graveyard Shift concert?
Well, we had a manager at the time, a dude named Daryl Solomon from the hood, a guy that I had linked up with, and I had a lot of faith in him. He was one of the most educated dudes I knew from the hood. And I was going to allow him to, play a substantial management role. And he threw a concert. After the Bone concert and after the Boo thing, he threw a concert that featured Scarface. And the Graveyard Shift was the last act prior to Scarface.
Oh, dope.
And I think Raw Ice Dynasty was there that night. A female group called Nina Raw, my homegirls Crystal and Michi. It was some people that was in the lineup just locally. And Scarface came on stage. And, you know, we had been kicking it with him all that day, drinking with him and hanging out. And he came out there and said, St. Clair, come around your way and do you like Jesse James. And the guys from the projects and down the way didn't appreciate that. So then he said, down the way, come around your way and do you like Jesse James. Dudes from St. Clair didn't appreciate that. You know, them was the two biggest hoods in Cleveland, the two most dangerous places you could be in the city. So, you know, I guess it was our time to meet up. So it ended up, he started a little rap contest, letting dudes on stage, and it got a little irate. Next thing you know, it turned into a full-fledged battle.
Wow.
Physically. So that ended up making the news too.
Yeah, and of course, so that doesn't, all these things doesn't help the hip hop scene in Cleveland.
I mean, it's helping us because negative publicity is good publicity, unfortunately, in the industry. So any publicity is gonna help you. But on the inside, you know what I'm saying, we keep seeing catastrophe. We keep seeing bad things happen, and we don't need that to keep happening.
What was the reception like for a group like Graveyard Shift as far as your sound? And did the sound change, or has it always, you know, the only thing the fans have to really go by is the Mo Thug and Stillwater's album. So was the goal always to kind of have that darker, almost like rock-based sound? And if so, how was it, you know, received by the regular hip-hop crowd?
Well, that wasn't our very first goal. It wasn't our very first music. Let me designate the individuals. T-Rock, which we end up being known as Tombstone, so whichever one I call him, you know who I'm referring to. He comes from a family of musicians. His brothers, I think his probably grandparents made music because it was just in his blood. He knew beats, he knew music, he knew guitars, and he knew what sound he heard in his ear. In my mind, I knew what sound I heard in my ear. And I'm sure Sin was always one of them guys that was like our bring it in man. You know, he'd sit back and come with this crazy style. I looked at us like the Ghetto Boys. Like you had your Scarface, you had your Willie D, and you had your Bushwick. And Sin to me was like our Bushwick. He was different. You know what I'm saying? He could change his styles. He could change and metamorph into different things. And T-Rock was like that solid tombstone foundation. He don't move. He stay who he is. And me, I'm always in the street. You know, I'm the voice of the street. So those three things come together and we create simultaneously a graveyard sound. When we first started making music, I was paying for most of our studio time. And a lot of times, Tombstone and Sin couldn't make it for whatever reason, whatever they had going on. So I made a lot of solo music that was different than what our Graveyard Shift music was. So I was always making my own music and I was always making Graveyard Shift music.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always wondered, you know, about the sound, and it sounds like it's slowly kind of maybe leaned into to T-Rock sound just because he was doing a lot of production. And then, of course, when they did the album, he was very, very heavy into the production, which, you know, we'll talk a little bit about Stillwater's.
Well, let me spit on that, too, because at a point, the industry started trying to encourage us to be a certain type of way. It's like they wanted the Graveyard Shift to be like a Kiss group, a group like Kiss. And it was asking us about wearing leather and grunge, and I really wasn't with that. So they were just looking at us to have a more rockish appeal. And I think T-Rock bit into that idea, whether he liked the image that they was creating or not, but that music genre that they was getting to him influenced him, and he was good at it.
Yeah.
So I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I love the sound, but I didn't like the actual character or image that they want us to portray with that sound.
Did something that I've always kind of been curious about when we're talking about the sound, there's a pretty distinct difference in my opinion between the way Tombstone raps on the Mo Thug Family Scriptures album, the first Mo Thug album, versus the Stillwaters album. I always kind of attribute that Tombstone almost has like a militant rap style, but it's not as predominant on Mo Thug's one. Had he always kind of like almost came with that like militant rap style, or did he have like a lot of progression and change?
Let me say this. The Mo Thug compilations influences an individual like T-Rock or the Graveyard Shift to make music that's not necessarily our music, because everybody else in Mo Thug was so different from us. So to try to fit into the image of the Mo Thug sound, I think that T-Rock played itself down a little bit on the Mo Thug versus when it was time to really show up and show off for the Graveyard Shift.
So you're saying he almost held that back. He almost held back that.
Yeah, I think that the Graveyard Shift was really holding itself back and fitting into the idea of what the Mo Thug sound was versus what our sound was. And that's where a lot of my discrepancy even started to come in, because the Graveyard Shift should have had its own brand. We already had our own type music. We had our own crowd. We had our own image, and we didn't need to match and merge our brand with everybody that was involved with Mo Thug. Our brand should have stayed slightly separate, but still come up and show off when it's our time. And a lot of times guys in the industry, they looking for production rights. They looking for co-writer rights. Everybody looking for a way to get a check. So when you want to produce music for a group that got its own sound, sometimes you're not going to get the music that group produces.
Hey, 101, I don't know if you have a light nearby. We're losing a little bit of light from you because you're losing your outdoor light. So you're
oh yeah, because I'm using my light. I got a little fountain outside to blow cool air through my house. I don't got to use the air conditioner.
Oh yeah. No, I'm just starting to lose you a little bit in the light. I might lose you as your sun goes down. I'm not sure, but I'll let you know if it gets.
I'll see what I can do.
I'll let you know if it gets darker. We were talking about Mo Thug. We were talking about Tombstone style and just kind of how he probably catered that around. It's interesting to know that like he'd always had that militant style. I always point out that at that time I'd never really heard anything like that, and I still have never really heard anyone like that. I mean, T-Rock get on a mic and just like yell at you, like you feel assaulted almost with the way that he comes at you on that mic.
That's how he was. He was always a soldier. That was one of the realest soldiers I knew.
Did you guys get to do, because I know at the time where you became a group versus like, you know, the end, like did you get to make a lot of music with T-Rock and Sin, or like what was kind of like the amount of production? Because you were buying studio time. So like did a bunch of GYS songs get recorded that we haven't heard as fans?
We made a lot of music prior to the Mo Thug thing, because when Bone was in LA, that's when I really start pushing the Graveyard Shift and we really start working. And it just so happens a guy that stayed down the street from where I was staying at say, man, my cousin or my friend got a studio down on 61st and Quimby, man. He'll give you a good deal. I told him about you and what y'all trying to do. So I go down there to meet him, and dude tell me he'd give me studio time for $10 an hour just because of what he respected what we trying to do and how hard we working.
Yeah.
So, yeah, dude named Melly Mel. So that was our very first producer engineer.
Melly Mel, he's come up in interviews before. That was my man's. You know, he show up and show off. He played all the instruments too. So we made a lot of music, but you got to think too. The era of the Graveyard Shift's original music ended up getting lost because of the transfer from analog to digital. All the new music went to digital, and everything that was analog on 3-inch reels or 1.5-inch reels, you couldn't go to a studio that could get that music off those reels and put them on DATs or change them to digital. So at that time, keeping up with reels, you know, we were going from the 90s to the new era that we dealing in now. So it wasn't easy to keep up with music or keep using it. And then as our sound enhanced, what do we need those songs for? That's heartbreaking to know that there were those songs out there that, you know, could be lost.
There's probably 100 songs out there lost. Not only my individual songs, but Graveyard Shift music.
Wow.
It's songs we made with Mo Thug that never got heard.
Wow.
It was stuff we was recording that I can't speculate why those songs didn't come out, but I loved them. They was hard, but they didn't come out. I don't think they fit the Most Thug sound at the time, and the people that was on them was showing up and showing off.
Another thing that I would venture to say could be possibly lost that we talked about that I think is really interesting is that prior to Boo being murdered, right after he joined the group, there's a photo shoot that you told me about that took place with the four of you as the Graveyard Shift.
Boo never.
He wasn't in that photo shoot?
Nah, he never. The only photo shoot he ever made was that picture for the original Graveyard. We was about to do our thing, and we went up to the plaza on 105 in St. Clair and ended up taking that picture for them to put it in their window, and that's where that picture comes from. That's the only picture you ever see with Boo.
Wow. But there was a photo shoot with the rest of you, with you, Sin, and Tombstone, and you guys did it in the Graveyard. Was that around the Mo Thug time?
Yeah, we did in the Graveyard. We used to hang in all the time down on 61st by King Kennedy in the project. We used to go down there and kick it at night. The Graveyard was our stomping ground. We'd go down there and meet and stuff like that. So we ended up taking a big photo shoot down there. I can't tell you what happened to those photos. I don't know how much of my history you know, but I spent a lot of years in prison, in and out. So I was the keeper of a lot of the things that we had going on, and I wasn't able to keep up with them in my absences.
Right. Wow. Well, if anybody listening, because we have a lot of people, a lot of the OGs from Cleveland tune into these interviews. If anybody listening has the lead on those, we're trying to see them. We've been talking a lot about Boo. You had mentioned to me and in this interview that the plan was to almost expand GYS into something bigger, almost like a mega group, and that's why you were adding Boo. There was another member you had mentioned to me, and I've never heard anybody mention them at
Beware.
all. Yeah, can you tell me a little bit about them, when they were added, and what happened? I've never heard anybody say another member.
Sin had went to jail, and we didn't have a third member, and my dude Beware had always had our back. He had been writing. He was a hell of a third party. He was like a Sin on a different level because he brought so much to the table. And me and Barry spent a lot of time together. So, at that time, we're not trying to replace Sin, but I'm still trying to add pieces. And I thought he was a wonderful piece to the Graveyard Shift, and he had our back, like I said. And I don't know exactly what point Beware chose to go a different route, but he chose to go and do something different at a time. I was probably locked up, and Sin and T-Rock had went. I know at the time I was locked up when 1999 Eternal came out. I had we had a meeting, and this is preceding a lot of other information that we talked about, really what was garnishing my split from the whole thing. But I had started talking to individuals that had been talking to Mo Thug about brokering deals to purchase the Graveyard Shift or to sign the Graveyard Shift. And instead of allowing the middleman knows deals, I start speaking to him personally. So we ended up having a meeting with Rap-A-Lot down in Houston, which that was one of my dreams growing up in Houston, was to be with Rap-A-Lot. So, I definitely gave them a lot of attention when they called me and contacted me and said that they were interested in the Graveyard Shift for whatever we wanted to negotiate. And
is this roughly, just to set the time frame, is this prior to Shots to the Double Glock being recorded?
This is well after Shots to the Glock.
Okay.
We dropped Shots to the Glock.
But no Mo Thug deal yet. So this is kind of between Shots and the Mo Thug deal.
The Mo Thug deal was always a theoretical theory from Jump Street. Bone, Lazy always had an idea about Mo Thug. And everybody entertained it. I entertained it. I didn't have a problem with being a part of Mo Thug and being a part of that vision until I realized that that vision couldn't help me see what I seen for the Graveyard Shift.
So you have a possibility of a Rap-A-Lot deal for GYS, and what happened then to that deal? Like, why didn't you see any progress on that?
What happened was Big Chief, the vice president of Rap-A-Lot, came up to Cleveland and called me And I went over there by myself, and just so happens he was over there with some other guys. And you know, Rap-A-Lot's big thing is you got to battle for a place in their world. If you want to be with Rap-A-Lot, you got to show up and show off anytime they tell you to against whoever. So when I showed up, I had already perfected my battle rap skills. So I showed up and they had some guys over there, and I did my thing. And at that moment, Big Chief promised me a deal. He told me no matter who we run across, no matter what, you got a contract with Rap-A-Lot. So, you know, in my heart, like I said, as I grew up, that was one of my goals. That was my heart, to be with Rap-A-Lot. I had forgot even about Easy giving me his number until Bone was in LA and wasn't getting the deal. So I had Sin give him the phone number.
Damn.
I had forgot all about Easy.
Hold on. Bones and Cali, they trying to reach Easy.
No, they in Cali trying to get a deal, period.
Yeah, because they went out there trying to find a deal.
They just went out there trying to get a deal.
They met with a couple people. Easy became the target.
Well, Easy became the target when I sent them the phone number. Easy wasn't an initial target. They was rapping for dudes. I believe it was King T. Sin was at home a lot and had a home phone. I didn't have a home phone, and T-Rock didn't either. We had pages back then. So when they was in LA and calling, we was all negotiating and talking through Sin's conversations. I might be at his house, I might not be. He'd come tell me what they said. And they was disgruntled. They was rapping for people that wasn't feeling their style, that wasn't listening to them, that was closing doors in their face, and they was running out of money and wanted to come back to Cleveland and looking for a way in. And I don't, you know, we can't accept failure, man. We you know what I'm saying? Once we agreed to go out there, because me and Lazy hatched the final plan to get them out there. So once they got out there, I don't want them to come back. They don't want to come back, and I get it. And it finally resonated with me. Damn, I got Easy number. Here.
From the CD as a child.
From the record as a child. Shit. So I went up to the Plaza at 105 where that picture came from, and I bought an Easy tape and went and gave Sin the number and told him call this number and ask for Easy.
Wow.
But that was at the same time when the graveyard shift was solidifying the neighborhood of St. Clair. It used to be when 95th would beef with 93rd and 102nd beef with 95th, and it wasn't no unity. So at the time while they was out there, I was making the graveyard shift music and making my own songs about the wasteland. And the name of the St. Clair Wasteland came from South Park, Houston.
Wow.
We named our neighborhood after my neighborhood and my homeboys in Houston. If you listen to Gangsta Nip album and Come Into My World, when he say the South Park Wasteland is where the psycho dwells. Me and my homie V kept repeating that and ended up, you know what I'm saying, monikering our hood after the hood in Houston. The St. Clair Wasteland sounds real similar to South Park Wasteland, don't it?
Yeah.
Same way 105 became known as the Bloody Nickel, but the Bloody Nickel was also 5th Ward, Houston.
Gangsta Nip.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're talking to the side, and John said Gangsta Nip. I'm like, wow.
We got a homeboy that nicknamed himself Gangsta Nip. I got a homeboy nicknamed himself 666. I got everybody. We love Houston. And I like to say I played a big part of it, but Cleveland is a main component of Houston music, including my homeboys. I grew up with street military. One of my good friends was Point Blank. The whole South Park Coalition, them was my partners.
We've jumped around a bunch, which is fine. I'm down to go wherever. So forgive me if I jump back in time because we've jumped forward a little bit. But we had been talking about creeping on a come up, and I was just curious because so many people at that time were around. Were you around the city at that time when Creeping on a Come Up came out, and were you in any of those videos when they came back to film them?
Well, the Creeping on a Come Up video. Let me see. The first one was Thuggish Ruggish Bone.
Yeah.
The night before the video, me and the whole hood got excited and walked around the neighborhood to a party, ended up getting into a shootout, and I ended up getting cut up in a backyard full of sticker bushes.
Damn.
The night before the video. I had like 1,000 razor cuts, like I was punished by Chinese mercenaries or something. So the morning that the video was shot, I was actually across town with Neosporin all over me with a whole bunch of razor cuts, couldn't hardly move.
So you didn't.
They shot the video, but if you look at the video, the homies is holding up my airbrush T-shirt because I really couldn't even make it. I couldn't even get off the couch that day.
Wow.
By the time I heard about the shooting, I finally just pulled myself up in pain and shot across town over there. But you know what I'm saying? It was everything was over by then.
Yeah.
So I wasn't in the Thuggish Ruggish Bone video. And then
they did For the Love of Money with Easy shortly after that.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, me myself, I never wanted to be famous. I never liked the limelight. I didn't like pop music. I didn't like radio play. That was never my goal and objective. So to be in videos and have my face known, I had a lot of shit going on in the street at the time, so I didn't need my face really out there.
Yeah.
So it was, my main priority wasn't to be known and be in videos and show my face. My main goal was to make hard music for the hood and for people who love us.
Yeah. No, hey, that makes sense, you know, based on what.
That's why this my first face-to-face with the world ever.
Yeah. Hey, and we're honored to have it. I told you, this has been the platform for a bunch of people to do their first interview. One of them was Archie Blaine, and you know, it's always a pleasure when we're the trusted go-to, you know, for telling these stories. What'd you think? What'd you think of Creeping on a Come Up when you had a chance to hear it? Because there's a big difference between Creeping on a Come Up and Faces of Death in a short amount of time.
Believe it or not, on my way home to this interview, I was listening to Creeping on a Come Up just because it's in my playlist.
Yeah.
It's on my Apple playlist. I fucks with Creeping on a Come Up.
Yeah, it's hard as fuck.
And it give me so many memories of a great time when it was the moment that we was having our breakout moment, not only as a hood, but being able to break out the streets and being able to break into the industry. That's what opened the doors. I love that CD. I listen to it from front to bottom every trip.
Yeah. What was the buzz like around Cleveland at that time? I mean, it must have been electric, especially when they were coming back for the videos, but just in general for that album.
Man, Cleveland ain't seen no shit like that. St. Clair hadn't seen no shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was excited. Everybody just knew it was our opportunity because we had so much talent in the city that hadn't been heard. You had groups like Levert. They bring out certain cats, but everybody would say certain things about their business acumen. You had dudes like Kermit who had did music, but people wasn't blowing up.
Right.
You had everybody that was trying. And as far as the rap industry, Cleveland hadn't seen nothing like this. We hadn't seen no Eazy-E's coming down in the hood like that. We didn't see, you know what I'm saying? We all on the radio, I mean, we was prime time.
Yeah.
So of course the whole city is electric because everybody think it's our time. Everybody think, oh, they gonna put the city on. This is what it's gonna be. All the rappers that's been struggling in the city, it's their time. And Bone was the premier for that. They was supposed to be the spearheaders for bringing this city and putting it on the map. And the graveyard shit, we was just underground, making sure everything was cohesive on the street side.
I had mentioned, you know, that we've jumped around. We had talked about you going to California a few times and stuff, but I don't know if we actually touched on, like, they've done Creeping on a Come Up, they're recording Eternal. Like, how did it actually come about that they were like, all right, we're bringing you, because it was you guys and Poetic Hustlers, and I think some other people too, who went to Cali, and like what actually brought that trip on? Like y'all found out we're going out, we're gonna make this music.
Listen, when they talked to Eazy on the phone, Steve called and said Eazy had a concert in Cleveland that next weekend. Just a coincidence, but don't use the word coincidence because I believe all incidences coincide. It wasn't no coincidence that Jerry Heller was from 99. Wasn't no coincidence that I met Eazy and he told me to call when I was ready. Wasn't no coincidences. So everything coincided. It just so happens that he had a concert that very next weekend after they called him and told them that if they could rock the city, because Cleveland is such a hard crowd to please, if you can please your hometown crowd, I'll give you a deal. And it just so happens that while they was doing that, like I said, the graveyard shift was down here making songs, wasting them in the wasteland, rapping about what was going on in the neighborhood. So we had already been bringing the neighborhood to a cohesion from 88th to 105 and naming it the wasteland. So when Eazy told them that, it was right up our alley. So come on back. They needed a couple help with some bus tickets. I sent them some money for bus tickets, picked them up. They couldn't even all fit in the car. Lazy had to get in my trunk. He rode to my house in the trunk. At that time, we had broken the liquor store, the Arab store. We had beer, liquor, whatever else to throw a party. and the hood was ready to go. They had been listening to the Creeping on the Come Up tape all week, down throwing parties down on 88th in the parking lot on 99th. Everybody was geared up for it. This is our time. We're going to do it if y'all show up and show off. So the night of the concert, the hood went deep. 100-some people went across town to a club called Vert's. Levert had a club on 131st and Miles, and that's where they threw the underground concert. Because like I said, rap concerts was really outlawed in the city of Cleveland. Verse was throwing underground concerts with all the underground kings coming there. So we went over there and represented. And after the concert, Lazy came to me like, man, we done it. We done it, man. We did it. Let's go. Easy want to give us a deal. And I'm like, nah, you go get your deal. We're going to stay down here solidifying this city. We're going to stay down here because St. Clair ain't just 88th to 105. St. Clair go from downtown to 260.
So that was when they did, that was like right before Creeping, right?
Yeah, that's before Creeping on the Come Up.
So at what point, so now fast forward past Creeping during Eternal, how did it come together that you, meaning GYS, and Poetic Hustlers were going out to California to record for Eternal? How'd you guys find that out? How'd that come together?
After they came and dropped the videos for Creeping on the Come Up, and Creeping on the Come Up was over, because back then you had EPs, then you had an LP.
Yeah.
I think it was the EP is the short version of what it is to come.
Yeah, you got it.
Creeping on the Come Up was really just, and labels used to drop the EP so they could finance your LP and see what your buzz was. So once they seen the buzz for that, it was all systems go with Easy. And they called like, man, come on. Let's come to LA. We about to do this whole album. We need y'all out here. Let's all go. Ain't no staying at home. Ain't no none of that. Let's go. So we jumped on a plane, the graveyard shift from Poetic Hustlers. When we got out there, at first we was in hotels. I think our very first hotel was the Best Western on Hollywood Boulevard. Then we end up at on Chatsworth, I think the Chatsworth Inn, or another hotel before that, because Sin had beat somebody up at one of the hotels and we got kicked out, and that's when Easy finally got us a house.
So how long were you guys actually out there then? Because it was the 6 of you, right? The 3 in GYS and the 6 in Poetic Hustlers?
Yeah, we was out there, but me, I left a couple times because I go back to Cleveland. I was a hustler, and I don't like being somewhere without enough money to do what I need to do. So I would shoot back and do my thing and come back with some money. And a lot of times I was taking the Greyhound to save money. I'll stop in Houston, kick with my homies, take care of some business, and then shoot to LA.
Damn, so you were really traveling a lot at this time between, you figure, LA, Houston, and Cleveland. Like, that's some miles.
Yeah, no doubt, a couple thousand, especially on the Greyhound.
Yeah, for sure. That Greyhound, man, that Greyhound sure has a lot of foundation in all your stories. Everybody we talk to has a story with this fucking Greyhound.
I know, if the Greyhound bus could tell a story, it'd tell all of us something new.
Hey, we all said, we were like, Greyhound's biggest sponsorship miss was not sponsoring Bone Thugs and their story for taking that Greyhound to success. They should have sponsored those guys.
I'm going to tell you something, too, about that Hollywood Best Western. A lot of stars and stayed at that Best Western in Hollywood. They got a wall of fame up there that I had to get our poster up there. And I made everybody sign the poster, and we put the Creeping on the Come Up poster in there. Because there's been a lot of famous people that had to venture through that hotel, too. I was impressed. I was kind of at all just by being there and looking at all the famous names on the wall that had that same experience we had of struggling and being there.
And being there first. Yeah, that's awesome.
So you guys are on the wall. You guys actually have a picture on the wall of that Best Western?
Yeah, the Creeping on the Come Up poster with all our autographs should have been there. I don't know if they took it down. I haven't been there since then, but they put it up, and I assume they would keep it there. Shit,
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if I'm over there, I'm gonna swing through just to check. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's the Hollywood on Best Western. I mean, it's the Best Western on Hollywood.
So
I'm sitting here sipping me a bottle.
You're good. Do you, man? I'd usually be smoking, but I don't want to be coughing while I'm asking questions. You're out there. You're in Cali. It's obviously Bone, GYS, Poetic Hustlers. Poetic Hustlers is a newer group at this time as well. We know that they also had some roster changes. What was your relationship like with them? And was it GYS and they were kind of on their own as Poetic Hustlers, or were the 6 of you kind of all together during this experience?
There wasn't no 6 of us. I mean, I wasn't too cool with Poetic Hustlers. I love D-Lo. The original Poetic Hustler, D-Lo, was my man. And you know what I'm saying? His energy was strong with me. I felt that guy. But when it came, like I told you, I've been rapping since a child. So it's hard for me to respect rappers that's just starting because they homeboys making music. And now they want to be rappers too. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I felt about the Poetic Hustlers. They hadn't put in enough work to be in the position that the Graveyard Shift was in, because the Graveyard Shift had put in work. We wrote hour after hour after hour in the basement of dope houses and trap houses and at home and coming together with studio time. And they hadn't had those experiences. The only person who had that experience was D-Lo, and that's why his experiences resonated with me. So when they got rid of D-Lo, I really didn't feel like I meshed with Poetic Hustlers.
So did D-Lo, did he leave before you were leaving GYS, and did you guys have any contact after you had both had departed?
Oh, absolutely, because you know what I'm saying, I felt his pain, and D-Lo really wasn't as aggressive as I was with certain things. So when people did what they did to him, he kind of just took it back. And you listen to him on the song, he just a laid back type cat. So, you know, I took his pain on. So I was really at them about how they did him, because he was not only a founding member, he was the most seasoned member. He was the most person that had put in so much work for the music, and for them to just cut him out his own creation, that was one of the things that started looking at like, damn, y'all do this to somebody? Y'all will do this to a dude that really got this much talent and this much ability and this much love for this, just because D-Lo was interested in the business aspect. He said he was gonna get a manager. He wanted his contract to be right. And as soon as he started talking about that, it was down with D-Lo. And I ain't support that. I ain't gonna support no man that want to feed his family and take care of his business, and because he doing that, you want to cut him out. I can't support that.
So your standpoint on it is D-Lo ended up out of the Poetic Hustlers because he wanted to take kind of control of his career.
D-Lo was interested in making sure that his financial needs was met in the end. He was interested in making sure that the business was right, that when he featured on this or did that he was gonna get what he had coming. And D-Lo got cut straight out the picture. And for a cat who I never seen rap in my life. I had never seen Mohart rap in my life. I seen him. I knew him. He my dude. I fuck with him. But when it comes to this music, I got a different relationship than I do with you for anything else, because I got love for this music.
He's pretty forthcoming about it. I think in our interview he had said that he was like out of jail and started rapping like right in Poetic Hustlers.
I'm not saying it to disrespect him.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying I think he would co-sign what you're saying.
Was and how I looked at people at that time, and why I wanted the Graveyard Shift to be set apart, because our work ethic and what we had put forth required a little more respect than to be lumped in with people who hadn't put forth that effort.
Right.
Who hadn't put in that work. If you ain't put in work, I'm from the street. If you don't put in work, you don't belong over here with people who do.
When you said that you felt like those were the reasons that D-Lo was kind of cut, did you mean cut by Poetic or cut by like more bigger picture Bone?
I mean, he was cut. He got to be cut by Poetic, because that's his group first and foremost. We wasn't even signed with Bone or Mo Thug, so can't nobody tell you at that time what to do with your future. Right. Only thing they can do is mold you and give you opinions and tell you what they trying to do. So because you're not up under no exclusive contractual rights, you can do what you want to with whoever you want to.
Okay, so
and for them to allow that to happen to him as part of their group, I just didn't respect it.
So before this happens, though, you guys are in Cali doing shots of the double GLOCK. All 6 of you are featured on it. It's you know, to this day, I would say that for Bone fans, it's, you know, it's a top rated track. I mean, and even though it wasn't a thing yet, I think it's considered by most as the very first Mo Thug track. Is there anything about the recording of that song that stands out to you? Can you kind of like give us some insight on the energy and what it was like doing that? And
everything about that song stood out, because at that time I was trying to be influential in having that song made before we even came up with the idea, because on the Ghetto Boy album, They made a song called Bring It On. And it was a raw group cut. At the end of a lot of Easy songs, they had or his groups, they had the last song where everybody featured. They had my homeboys from South Park got a song 17 minutes long called Slipped Into a Coma. That's just the rawest group song I've ever heard in my life. So I kept trying to influence Crazy and Lazy to make sure that the people that's around, we could make a group song that's hard and compatible with those songs. When we made that song, we didn't even choose. It's not. I would like to flatter myself and say, "Oh yeah, they let me in the album," but that's not how it went. We put numbers in a hat, and I just happened to got the last number.
That's it. That's how y'all figured out the lineup.
That's how that happened. We put numbers in a hat and we drew numbers. Man, I got the last number. You know what I'm saying? So my cousin, like I told you, my cousin from Houston.
Your part's wild too. You got that beat drop during your part and all that shit.
You know why they dropped the beat through my verse, man?
Tell me.
Because I don't have no rhythm.
Yo, everybody loves that fucking beat drop though. Man. We all love that beat drop.
And I'm gonna keep it real with y'all if I don't do nothing else. I don't have no rhythm, and I used to write all my music a cappella.
Yeah.
I listen to the beat, but I go write my verses a cappella. So a producer always had to find some way to make my verses and my way of doing something fit and coincide with the beat that was there. Because it wasn't my thing to just be able to ride a track like most rappers can do. You know what I'm saying? Which people end up liking it, but they don't know that's because of my impediment. It's not because that's what I do on purpose. It's because I literally don't have no rhythm. So my cousin, like I said, my cousin from Houston, that was like my brother, he was in the Navy and stationed in LA at the time when we lived out there. So a lot of times I would go kick it with him and let him hear what's going on and talk to him about stuff because he was like my mentor. And when it was time to make that song and I told him I'm last, only thing he gave me his advice. He said, "Man, you want my advice?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Man, make yourself stand out over everybody else." And every time somebody give me a track, I would write 3, 4, 5 verses or songs to every beat you give me because I don't know which one you gonna like. I'm so interested in pleasing the crowd that I didn't know what verse people was gonna like. And my cousin chose that one. And I'm like, man, that's the one I like the least. He like, man, do that one. I'm your biggest fan. That's the one I want to hear. So I'm like, all right, I ain't even memorized that one. So if you listen to the song, I actually make mistakes on the song. I make mistakes on the verse. And I hated the damn song at first because I made mistakes and I wanted to correct it. And I went to Easy and asked him, "Hey man, please can we redo that song? Can I redo my verse so it can be harder?" Easy said, "No, one take, one kill. Whatever you submitted, that's what it is." And I'm like, man, I done heard your mistakes before. I remember, I told him, I said, "I remember when you made a mistake." He made a mistake on Arsenio Hall show when they did a song called All in the Same Game. He messed his verse up on that song, and I reminded him of it. And he like, "Man, you don't miss a beat, do you? You don't miss shit. But you're not fixing that song. So it's going out exactly how it is. Get used to it." And that was his final word. And when Easy give his final word, that's what it is.
Do you want to let anybody in on a mistake on there? Is there one that comes to mind?
Man, the whole verse, even I told you I didn't even know. Oh man,
we all love the fight. I think that verse stands out to everybody. And I'll tell you this too. If you think about what I was saying earlier about GYS and Tombstone and the style change and all that, your verse is in that same like militant style like delivery. You know what I mean? Like so you came very hard on that. Everybody loves that.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The verse is all me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's all me, but it just wasn't the me that I thought I wanted to give to the public. But after the response that I got from it, I learned to love it.
Hell yeah.
Because the people, you can be your own worst critic sometimes. And sometimes it's just go in there and do you live and speak from the heart. Because when I said we never divide, go nationwide with the buck, I meant that. I didn't never plan on separating from Bone or separating from Mo Thug or being a different entity other than what it was that we brought forward. I believe that we was never going to divide, that unity was there regardless what choices we made for our better business.
We were talking and we kind of touched on this, but I was just kind of like curious to really know when you got back out and you run into Easy and you tell him about, you know, you meeting him young and everything. what was his reaction to, wow, like when you good, call me, and now here you are, you at Ruthless Records, like you did it.
I think me and Easy actually bonded by me showing him that and telling him that, and he realizing how life catches up, you know, because we had that conversation. Then when we was in the hotels, Easy would come and bring some weed or some liquor, but he wasn't bringing no food. So one day he seen us walking down the street and he pull up like, man, where y'all walking to? We like, we going to the grocery store. He like, the grocery store? Yeah, man, we hungry. You know, me and T-Rock had actually went and got jobs at the McDonald's next to the hotel we were staying at. And Easy acting like that was absurd. And I'm like, absurd? What's absurd is you bringing us liquor and weed and we ain't eating. Humans got to eat first. You know what I'm saying? So he like, ain't nobody saying that. And I'm like, man, I don't know what's wrong with him, because I'm a straightforward, speak my mind type person, right? If y'all ain't realized that by now, that's who I am. So I'm telling him like, man, dig, we in a hotel, we 10, 12 deep, we not eating, you know what I'm saying? We drinking and shit, weed make you hungry. So he's like, man, let's go to the grocery store and tell me everything you need, and I'm gonna make sure you get it, man. Ain't nobody said nothing. So from then on, and every time me and him had an interaction, it was something that it seemed like he just took to me. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know how everybody else's individual relationship was with him, but my personal relationship was I learned to love Easy, not only his business acumen, but him as a person. You know what I'm saying? I understood why his contracts looked like they did, and it really wasn't from his heart why that happened. It was just how the business had to make him do. So, you know what I'm saying? I just love dude. You know what I'm saying? And even when I had a discrepancy with him, I loved the discrepancy because he always came and clarified it and found a way to make it better. And I believe that if Easy hadn't died, everything for Bone, Mo Thug, Graveyard Shift was gone, everything would have been okay. Easy's death changed a lot of things.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a very dominating factor in so many interviews that we do, whether it's inside a Bone and this world, or, you know, we even interviewed Silky Fine, and it's the same thing if you're in Silky Fine's shoes. You know, Easy, it must be incredible while he was alive to know the influence and touch he had on people, but at the same time, he had no true understanding of how much and how important he really was. I'm sure he had an idea, but when you see the fallout 20 years later to know how really important the guy is, it's like we lost more than a superstar. We lost a guy that he was above music. When you hear that story about how he got himself into the White House, it's like, this guy's bigger than fucking rap music.
Yeah, no doubt.
This is a genius we're dealing with.
No doubt. And he was a powerful figure, not only in the street, but in the industry and politically. So to be able to put yourself in them positions, you know, that's why I love people like him, Lil J from Rap A Lot, because they able to transcend what most average individuals is capable of doing. Even at that time in the 90s, it's a lot of great entrepreneurs. Look at Master P.
Oh, yeah.
Look at Puffy. The 90s created, in the 90s music genre, created so many greats, but it's a window of opportunity, and those guys fit into it. But some people even transcended that window. Easy was there before the window, and I believe he'd have still been there after the window.
Oh, I agree. If the guy would have lived, he would likely still be relevant in some sort of fashion right now. Really, whatever the fuck he wanted. Really,
definitely. Because he knew how to make people great. He took Bone Enterprise and made them both Thugs and Harmony.
He was cool. You see the way Snoop is relevant still. I think Easy was cool enough that he could have been cool until whenever. So you guys are out in California. SHOTZ the Double GLOCK gets made. We talked about that. Was there any other music at that time that you were recording out there, or was it specifically about SHOTZ the Double GLOCK?
Nah, Bone really utilized most of their studio time working on that album. If you listen to 1999 Eternal, I think that was probably one of the most complicated albums I ever heard in my life.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So they used their time as they should have, expertly, and executed one of the greatest albums I believe that hip hop has ever heard. And I wasn't trying to be nothing but a part of that. I wasn't trying to, at that time, if I could influence, you know, I'm always behind the scenes. I'm like what I always call myself, a great underboss. I'm always behind the scenes telling somebody, hey, try this. Hey, I like that. Hey, you know what I'm saying? And putting them in a mindset of somebody that got their back. And I just supported them doing their thing. It wasn't about the Graveyard Shift. It wasn't about Poetic Hustlers. It wasn't about Mo Thug. That album was about Bone like it should have been, and that was the greatest album they could have ever executed and one of the greatest albums hip hop ever heard.
Oh, that's a fucking masterpiece. You're in good company on that opinion because, you know, Bone fans will tell you that's the masterpiece, and it really is, right down from whether it's a producer, DJ Unique doing his thing, features like you guys adding to the mystique, because we didn't have a bunch of known features on there. The features you got were, you know, so everything about it is amazing, and it's very cool. I really like that your foundation is built on, let's take care of who's in the site right now, and it wasn't about GYS. Put Bone, get Bone where they need to be, and in theory that'll put GYS where they need to be when the time is right. It was my honor
and pleasure just to be on it or to be mentioned on it. You know, at that point in time, I wasn't asking for much. My support was behind the individual that's in the limelight. And the most important thing is to make sure your product is the best product the streets got.
Were you guys able to be set up? Because a thing with that record that is notoriously fucked about it is Bone's deal on it was real bad. Were you guys able to receive any sort of royalties or anything like that as GYS for your feature?
I'm gonna tell you, first of all, I don't know about everybody else's thing, but my thing is, when I grew up in Houston, if a dude wanted you on his CD, we wasn't charging, people wasn't charging you, it was all love. So I didn't give a damn if I got a check for that or nothing. Like I say, it was my honor and a privilege. For real, it's one of the greatest things that ever happened in my life to be able to be the last verse on the last song on that great album.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, just to build my resume and to say that my work and my effort and my pushing behind them put me on that song, that's all I need. Yeah. Just for you talking to me right now because of a verse on that song.
It's facts. That's a great way to look at it.
Right now because of a verse on that song. So at the end of the day, it's my honor and a privilege to give that verse to the world and be on that album. I don't need a dime, a check. I don't know what everybody else was worried about at that time. But if you're willing to feature me on this great project, give it here.
That's beautiful. That's an amazing way to look at it. Unfortunately, not too many people are cut from that type of cloth, but that's a amazing way to look at the situation. I will say this, we'll have to find out for you. You are eligible for a plaque from the RIAA because of your work.
Me a plaque. Don't worry about me. I took me a plaque and had me one made that's original and the way it go. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I didn't do it for none of that. But if they want to give me one, that's great. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, like I said, it was just my honor and privilege to be there. I know that anywhere I go in the world, I can cut on a song, a CD that sold thousands, millions. You know what I'm saying? And I'm the last verse you hear before the damn thing go off.
What was that like when it came out? When the record came out and you could actually have the CD in your hand and go, hey, look, check this out. This is me. Like, what was that like? Were you showing that off or were you real cool about it?
We had to pay a guard to bring it into the prison so I could hear it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's what I want to touch on. And this is probably a great time for us to do it on why, after SHOTZ to the double GLOCK, we see your departure, or at least what would at that time look like your departure from GYS. You don't get to Mo Thug. Let's go over that, and it will bring us into that piece.
When Easy died, I lost a little faith in Mo Thug's capability to make the graveyard shift reach the plateau that it was capable of reaching. I think that Lazy was a great businessman as far as Bone for the best of his ability. But when it came to making decisions for the graveyard shift, I didn't want anybody else having the rights or the right to decide what our future would look like. And I was in jail when, you know, me and T-Rock, when we went to LA, me and him was both wanted by the police in Cleveland. T-Rock was wanted because a store had got robbed and his ID was found outside the robbery. So he was wanted for a robbery of an Arab store. And I was wanted for a petty dope case. And when we went to go on tour for the 1999 Eternal, Crazy's mom's boyfriend had negotiated a deal for me to get a car from somebody who ended up calling the car in carjacked after the deal went through and I paid him for the car. So on my way to the 1999 Eternal tour, I got pulled over in a car that I thought I had purchased, but instead it was called in carjacked and I was finally arrested for a petty dope case warrant. And when Easy died, I was in the county jail waiting for him to bond me out. I think his secretary at the time was Keisha Milan or Keisha, and I had been communicating with her, and Easy was definitely coming to get me out on bond, and he ended up getting sick, going to the hospital, and I heard about his death while I was waiting for my bond to get paid.
Wow.
One of the COs down in the county that used to do security for us came to my cell and got me out to show me it on the news about Easy's past.
Wow.
So
That is fucking, so Easy was coming to get you.
Yeah,
you guys had built that relationship at that point. Easy's coming to get you. And
Keisha told me don't worry about nothing, just sit still. But I was still fighting to get my bonds lowered. I never carjacked nobody. We had the title that was signed by dude and dated. You know what I'm saying? I really wasn't looking. There wasn't no serious offense, but because I was arrested in a suburban community, getting off trying to get the lazy girlfriend house over 116th across town, I got off in a spot called Transportation Boulevard in Garfield. It's known for racism and bullshit. So they pressed this carjacking case and gave me some high bonds. And at the time, I didn't have the money to get out. Lazy ended up giving my mom some money to get me out. My granny put a house up for my bond so I could get out after Easy had passed in the funeral.
so Easy passed away. Lazy and your family help get you out. At what point is there the breakdown where you're not going to be interested in a Mo Thug deal? And did you think that Tombstone and Sin were going with you? And where did that all go? Because obviously Tombstone and Sin stay, and they join Mo Thug.
Well, I thought me and Tombstone and Sin had a bond that was unbreakable, because what I understand, the language of love is a universal bond with a force so strong which it cannot be broken. So when we talked about love, I didn't think it could be broken about money or anybody outside of the graveyard shift, because when Bone was in LA or whatever Bone was doing, the graveyard shift should have solidified itself with each other to have faith in each other, just like Bone had faith in each other to go to LA with a little bit of money and have faith in themselves. So I feel like the graveyard shift should have had that same power and that same energy. So when I got out, I was on bond, and like I said, my grandma put her house up for my bond. So I can't get in no trouble. I already seen my other people lose their house for putting a bond up, so I can't let that happen. And so I'm chilling. But where my house is where Lazy had bought a new house. And they riding past me, they buying their new cars and doing their thing. And you know, that's cool. You got a right to live. Whatever your art and your talent afforded you, you got a right to love them things and enjoy them. I don't have no problem with that. But Tombstone walked over my house one day with paper towels wrapped around his baby for diapers. And that affected me tremendously, because you got paper towels around your baby. You can't buy diapers, and here we on an album that's selling millions. Dudes is buying $100,000 trucks and cars and houses, and we can't even put diapers on your child. So wow. For me, you know what I'm saying, my energy was all about getting the graveyard shift where we need to be, because T-Rock didn't deserve that. He had struggled so much, and I watched him. When we was going to the studio, his column used to be peeled in his car. It wasn't stolen, but it was his car. He could hardly put gas in it. Sometimes he couldn't make it to the studio for gas because he really wasn't no block hustler type dude getting money. He was just a real type solid dude, but that wasn't his forte. So when we got to the position we was in, and I'm seeing the struggles that the graveyard shift is going through, I'm sitting on my granny porch with a house up for bond. I can't afford a Black and Mild. We doing things, and I don't expect Bone to go in their pocket and give us nothing, but don't at no point stop me from earning. And that's when our problems start coming in. My girlfriend was Lazy's cousin, Cash, and she was the secretary for Mo Thug. So while they doing this and having a good time, is people calling asking about the graveyard shift, E40, Brother Lynch, the Wishmaster movie. They calling about us, but we not getting the messages. People trying to put money in our pocket and trying to see what's up with the graveyard shit, because they can't afford Bone. Everybody, I ain't saying 40 of them can't. They got plenty bread. I'm not speaking of them specific.
Yeah.
But I'm saying individuals who contacting about the graveyard shit, they might not want to pay $100,000 for a bone feature, whatever they feature, but they want to deal with the graveyard shit. Well, maybe it's not about the money. They just like us. They like our energy. They like our name or whatever. But whatever it is, they calling about us. And while they calling about us, we getting short-stopped from being able to feed ourselves. And here my homeboy over here with paper towels wrapped around his damn child for diapers. I can't respect that.
Two clarifying questions. So you obviously know for sure it's going on because you got the inside because you're dating the secretary.
I know for sure it's going on because the secretary, my girlfriend.
Right. So she's taking all the calls. So you know that this is happening.
All the calls. She hearing all the conversations. Guess where the Mo Thug office at? The Mo Thug office is in Lazy House, and that's where she stay and work.
The other question, Tombstone's child, and I may be wrong about this, but was that with Crazy's sister?
Yeah, that's Crazy nephew, and he still got paper towels wrapped around this little boy, man, as a 1-year-old coming over here with some Bounty paper towels for diapers.
So you're frustrated not at them not looking to take care of you because you don't sound like the guy that just wants free money. You sound frustrated by the lack of like the opportunity.
Man, I don't need that. I don't need nobody to give me nothing. I earn it. I believe that 10,000 hours of hard work make anybody great at what they do.
Yeah.
I had put in my 10,000 hours. I had already proven my greatness. I had already proven my ability to rap. I had already proven that I put in the work that it take to get where we trying to get. If I didn't have my 10,000 hours at that time, I had 9. I had 8. I was on my way to great.
Side note, shout out to Archie Blaine, who's in the chat of Too True and Mo Thug. He says 101 is a good man. It's good to see you. So Archie Blaine.
I love Archie Blaine. He did some of our first music too, man. I love that dude and everything that he did, man. That's a 100 cat.
Yeah, we had Archie on, and just like you, we were Archie's very first interview. In all his time, we were the platform that he chose to share his story. So
he actually made the beats for the songs that Boo was gonna be on.
Oh, okay. So
the songs that we was making around the time that Boo came to the group, Archie Blaine was making the production for those songs.
Wow, that's crazy.
And he was one of my first producers that I took a liking to and just had love for Archie long before he became the Mo Thug. He was already doing jazz and them. Jazz had an album through him. Matter of fact, my cousin was rapping with him before Mo Thug Thorough.
I love the connection. I love that because we on this show we've connected back certain people, all the way back that lasted a very long time, and I love that when we talk about the family tree, there really is one here, and the way that it's connected. I mean, even down to like this I wasn't really gonna bring this up because we'd moved past it, but we were talking about GYS and kind of trying to make it big, and it almost seemed like GYS would have the same idea as like a Bone Mo Thug, because I remember like talking to Freaky G, who was in 93rd Infantry, and he's featured on Still Waters, and he's like, we were like GYS guys, like those were the guys that we kind of like
to get there because Bone blew up quick, man. They went straight radio. They was, what I'm saying? I ain't saying they went pop like they was some sucker shit. I'm saying that they blew up so quick that they was beyond the reach of the average individuals that was down there with us in the trenches.
Right.
So when it came to people trying to talk to Bone, guess who they came to talk to? The graveyard shit.
Right.
We was in the hood, so I knew who on 93rd could make music. Boo was they dude. Boo, matter of fact, the 93rd Infantry was Boo's big brother who passed. May he rest in peace also. But Jackie Depressor, when he put that together. So, we was down here in the trenches with these cats. I was in the projects with the cats that could rap, Deco and Marshawn and all those cats that had the talent and were just looking for their opportunity, but the projects don't afford them certain opportunity. So when Rap-A-Lot came to Cleveland, guess where I took them? To the projects. We went to 30th. We went to 40th. We went to 55th. We sat on St. Clair in front of my uncle's store, Economy, on 101st and St. Clair. And anybody who could rap got an opportunity. Because that's what we were supposed to do as a Mo Thug. We were supposed to give everybody opportunity, not just some homeboys you knew that you could take advantage of, or some people you thought you could fuck out their money, but some people who genuinely had the talent to put Cleveland where it needed to be. far as production, rap, or whatever it is, Cleveland had all the talent we needed. It's just, you know what I'm saying, it wasn't recognized because guys had their own agendas. And the Graveyard Shift didn't have that agenda. The Graveyard Shift agenda was to let everybody be heard and be known.
So the breakdown between you and I guess GYS and even Bone starts to come at that point where you get out and it seems like that this isn't the deal or the situation for 101, but Sin and Tombstone decide to move forward.
You missing something. When we went to Rap-A-Lot and Rap-A-Lot offered me a solo deal.
Yeah.
We went to Rap-A-Lot, the Graveyard Shift. It was a group called Night Train from the project, some younger cats that I vouched for and told them they should get them. Because if you got St. Clair down the way, you got the city of Cleveland. So I had them get Night Train and they liked them. They was talented as hell. And then Cashin ended up rapping for Big Chief over the phone from my house, answering my phone when she ain't had no business doing it. And he ended up telling, well, why he ain't bring you down here? But that was lazy cousin. What the fuck she need to go to Rap-A-Lot for or anywhere else? She supposed to be wherever her family at. So I wasn't trying to encourage her to go nowhere. She chose that. And they supposedly liked it at that time. So all 7 of us, they only had 7 plane tickets and 7 contracts. I was promised 1 from day 1. But I wasn't going without the Graveyard Shift. So we went down to Rap-A-Lot on the 4th of July. And went down to the Rap-A-Lot compound and Jay Prince came in with his entourage and some other cats from the label. And the whole thing was, shit, when Jay point to you, it's your time to show up. So, you know what I'm saying? Let's see what y'all can do. So in the room, everybody did their thing. When it was all over with, Big Chief pulled me to the side and said, just like I told you, you promised a contract.
Yeah.
Jay love you. He want to fuck with you. You part of the Rap-A-Lot family if you want it. But everybody else going home, what you gonna do?
So just you. So they don't want to do Tombstone and Sin.
So I'm like, nah, I'm not leaving my group, man. So he like, man, shit, they don't want it like you want it. They ain't into it like you into it. They ain't got the energy that we looking for. We want you. We don't want them. And Bone been calling down here backdooring y'all since y'all been here. Calling on the phone, making threats, talking about this, that, and the 4. So we want you to not only be part of the Rap-A-Lot family, but we also want you to go at them motherfuckers. And first of all, my goal and objective, like I said, we never divide, go nationwide with the buck. My goal and objective ain't to challenge my homeboys. It ain't to cause dissension in our family or in our neighborhood or in our city. That's not my objective. So I'm not choosing that. And second of all, I'm not going nowhere without my niggas because I'm loyal. And Big Chief looked me in my eyes and he said, if the deal was offered to them, what would they do? I said, man, they wouldn't take it without me. He said, that answer gonna haunt you for the rest of your life. And to the day while we having this, that answer haunts me for the rest of my life because I thought everybody was loyal to me like I was loyal to them. Now, we was down there on the 4th of July. I had a sentencing for the cases that I told you on the 7th of July, but we also had a meeting with Russell Simmons and Def Jam on the 12th of July. So I really wasn't worried about not taking a deal because Graveyard Shift got options. We don't got to go with Rap-A-Lot. I don't got to sell my homies out. We got options. We got talent. I ain't never got to sell nobody out and we got everything we looking for at home. So we came back from Cleveland and whatever transpired between Sin, Tombstone, and the Bone, they decided that, from what I understand, Tombstone them told them, I tricked them to take them to Houston. We was just supposed to be kicking it. I tricked them to take them to Rap-A-Lot. They didn't want to be there, and they wanted to be with Mo Thug. On the 7th of July, I went to prison after paying a lawyer and really not even supposed to go to prison, and I got sent to prison, and we didn't make the Def Jam deal. And while I was in prison, Sin and Tombstone decided to sign with Mo Thug as the Graveyard Shift. What they didn't know was that I had copyrighted and owned the Graveyard Shift name.
So they sign on to Mo Thug. You take control of the. You had control of the GYS name. I mean, and really, you at one point were literally GYS. That was your rap name. How long were you in prison? Because you must have been in during. You said Eternal. You were in when Eternal dropped.
Man, they gave me 18 months. So in the 18 months back then, that was like a year. And that was my first time going to prison. So I could have got boot camp and everything. I signed up for boot camp. I could have been out in 90 days, but I wasn't feeling that shit. So I quit boot camp and went up to Lancaster with my homeboys to do my time. I get some good days, but I end up losing them. But I end up going up there for a couple other reasons. But keeping it real to the streets always been my thing. Keeping it real with my homies always been my thing. I had a homie up there. I wanted to make sure he was okay. So I went to Lancaster and did my time. I didn't think that when I came home, I would be looking at a world different than the one I had created. I would be a part of a group different than the one I created. I didn't copyright the Graveyard Shift to try to trick Sin and Tombstone. It's just when I was going to a meeting, there was a guy named Adil Danish, who ironically had bone cancer. And he used to work with a lot of older labels, including Motown. And he took me under his wing and taught me a lot about the industry while everybody else was doing other things. I sat at his coffee table, sat at his feet and learned from a master. And he taught me so much about contracts, about the industry, about publishing, about the copyrights and all that. And he made sure that I was starting to have my business done. So that's what I did. Actually, me and Beware copyrighted the Graveyard Shift, Barry, because that was my homeboy and he was my arms and legs when I needed help. And he was going taking care of some business and he went and did it. So we end up owning the name, the Graveyard Shift, regardless if I never challenged nobody by my ownership of the name except Bone, because I'm telling them if you drop a Graveyard Shift album, you got to pay me. But at the end of the day, I wasn't never trying to stifle Sin and Tombstone's creative ability. I wasn't never trying to stop the album. I wasn't never trying to do any of that. But the thing is, you shouldn't be able to try to do those things by cutting out somebody who's been there for you from day one, period. Just like y'all did D-Lo. D-Lo didn't do the things I did, so he was capable of getting cut out. And I don't even know where he at to this day. I mean, he probably doing good because he's the type of dude that's not going to let himself fall. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to let you do me like y'all did him. So I cover my ass at the same time.
Yeah, I've tried to find him. So far, no connection. But that, hey, you never know.
I don't know how you going to find him.
Hey, you never know. People connect me every day with people I never thought I'd talk to.
No
You're
doubt.
one of them. So did that just completely fracture the relationship between you and the rest of GYS? I mean, were you guys like, did it just ruin the terms there, or like, what was the relationship at that point when you were out now?
What fractured it for me was when they put Gates in the group and he was on a song.
I was gonna ask about Gates.
Sounded like he's saying, like he me. And dudes was telling me in the joint, like, man, this dude out here acting like he you. You know what I'm saying? Like he you in the group instead of being himself and being his own individual. Because at the same time, like I said, I expected the Graveyard Shift to grow anyway. So they got a right to decide who they want to put in the group. I'm not taking that from them. But not only is you putting somebody in the group, but you taking me out. I never put nobody in to take nobody out. I put people in to make us more powerful and make us more strong. So they telling them that I tried to sign with Rap-A-Lot without them. Let me tell you something. If I would have tried to sign with Rap-A-Lot without them, I'd be with Rap-A-Lot to this day, which was one of my dreams and ambitions since a kid. I turned down my dreams and ambitions out of loyalty to my homeboys, loyalty to my group, and loyalty to what we started.
How long after your departure from GYS was Gates added?
I don't know because I was locked up. All I know is when I heard him on the Mo Thug song and he like,
was on there.
Must be the evil one. You know, everybody called me the evil one. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, why you even screaming my name? So I had a vendetta. I'm not going to lie to you or your listeners. When I sat in the penitentiary and I heard these things and I seen what was done and everybody turned their back on me and left me for dead and left me and telling them I tried to sign without them, man, I sat in there, man, and my anger rose. So when I came home, I ain't had no understanding.
So did you know Gates at all before he joined, or was this just a random dude?
Never met him in my life.
Never met him.
Never met him in my life. I didn't even respect his ability to rap. I mean, to be honest with you, and you know, you can take it how you want to take it. But I didn't think he was an exceptional character that I would have allowed in the Graveyard Shift under my own decision making, or as a group, I would have voted against him from hearing how his demo is. So when I know so many great rappers, there's no way that I would have chose that individual not only to replace me, but even to accommodate me.
Yeah, he wasn't in, he wasn't in very long. He was basically in during the Family Scriptures 96 era. Maybe he's on some Still Waters tracks. I don't remember. Somebody in the comments probably remembers if he's on it.
You know what I'm saying? Me and him had some things we needed to hash out as men. Me, him, and T-Rock had things we needed to hash out as men, because it's just certain things you just don't do to people when you respect them. So when you lose respect for me, I lose respect for you.
Yeah, he was not in long, and then from his departure, of course, it turned back into a two-man group for a limited amount of time, and that's when Tombstone got, fatally murdered, and that put essentially the end of the Graveyard Shift. We saw some Graveyard Shift songs on Family Scriptures 2. There was a tribute to Tombstone in it. Sin was featured in it. Did you have a relationship with Tombstone at that point when the world lost him? And can you talk about the impact of losing Tombstone, especially in the situation you guys were all in?
Well, we had some reconciliation conversations and meetings prior to any of that occurring, and them meetings never turned out well. I went down to a meeting down in Mo Thug when they kept meeting with me, telling me they wanted to get the Graveyard Shift back together, and that's what they wanted to do, and I was with that. All right, but it's not saying we're gonna do it under Mo Thug, but we can bring the Graveyard Shift back together, and then we'll negotiate what our terms is as business with whoever we decide to do business with. I showed up down at their studio. They had bought a studio for, down on 61st and St. Clair, and the meeting didn't go pleasant for me. When I first got there, Busy called me on the phone, and he like, "What's up? What you doing there?" I said, "Man, we talking about bringing everything back together and reconciling. I don't know how you gonna do that, and you ain't reconcile things with me." I didn't know me and Busy had a problem, but then he tell me his Watts homeboys, his homeboys from LA, told him that I ain't have his back when we had a beef in LA at the club with the Death Row and Dog Pound cat. But if you listen to the album, he say Thugable 101, and him definitely got my back. He telling the whole story of the situation. But now he done created some animosity with me about some cats done said. So I'm like, all right, whatever you want to hash out, you want to hash that little personal business out, we can hash that out whenever you want to. So we go
It's on Land of the Heartless, right? You said he gives you that shout out?
Yeah, when he giving me the shout out about the
crazy.
Song, right after the event happened.
Online, and we know a lot of Bone lyrics are wrong online, but I know that the line you're talking about is absolutely miswritten online. So can you spit it for everybody one more time what he actually says?
I ain't busy, and I agree.
We know. Just give him the words.
I mean, he say basically Thugable 101, and him definitely got my back, and I'm throwing a St. Clair dust a nigga with or without my gat. The whole thing was when he say in the beginning of that, he say, as soon as I hit the scene, Sidney fill up with a pistol, but he ain't had no gun. He talking about, I believe it was Nate Dogg who pulled down on us and was saying like, these just my homeboys from Long Beach. Don't pay him no attention, man. Y'all have a good time. But then when his homeboys pulled up behind him, he started acting like he had a gun. Like, yeah, nigga, we can do whatever y'all want to do. You know what I'm saying? On some fake gangster shit. So, Busy was hollering. The Watts dudes had our back. I ain't gonna take nothing from them, regardless what they did after that or said after that.
I assume
they had our back.
You must be talking about probably Black Hole of Watts and Menensky.
I'm talking about the Black Hole of Watts,
yeah.
and Killer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They was with us. They say if you got a problem with Cleveland, you got a problem with Watts. Now anybody know me? I'm not no loud dude. I ain't no shit talker. Like I said, this is my very first interview in my life.
Yeah.
Speaking to the public about anything. You know what I'm saying? And it took a lot to get me to this point to be able to do this without any type of apprehensions about whatever my apprehensions are. And so when whatever was going down, my whole thing was stay silent and watch my dude back. And that's what I did. I'm in LA. What the fuck I look like talking shit to some Crips and Bloods that I don't know? What I look like talking shit to some dudes from different cities that I don't know? You see what I'm saying? So it's not my thing to be hollering. My whole thing is to make sure everybody's secure. So yeah, I didn't say a lot, you know what I'm saying? But when it was time to pull, I pulled my mans up out of it and said, listen, blood, it's bigger than us. You got people pulling down from neighborhoods and throwing up colors and gangs. I don't know who with us, red, blue, green, whatever the hell they got going on. It's time for us to pull out because we got a bigger picture. So we pull out. He go back, drop the song. And at the end of the day, whatever was said to him to make him think I ain't have his back because I wasn't on the forefront talking shit to strangers and saying whatever the hell I didn't say or whatever it is that made him make up a beat. But what I tend to think about at that time was dudes wanted to have a problem with me, so dudes start making up beats. So when we got down to that meeting, and you know what I'm saying, I called him out on it because Lazy starts slapping dudes. He starts slapping Boogie Night and Tony Tone about whatever the hell they got going on. Now, I wasn't feeling that. They don't slap no dude. You know what I'm saying? That's disrespectful. We're just death row or some shit, you Suge Knight. So they slapping cats, and then he say, Boog, Tony Tone, one-on-one. He put me in the same boat. So I'm like, shit, what you gonna slap me? What you want to bring me to the square? You know what I'm saying? Don't put me in the same boat with the dudes who you got other problems with because I'm not the dude who generate them same problems. So keep me separate. And he tried to lump me in and we start beefing. So I called everybody in the room out. Whoever got a personal beef with me, speak up. If I did something to you that offended you to make you think that I don't belong somewhere or I'm not the type of real cat that belong with what y'all talking about, somebody speak up, be a man. If I disrespected you, if I did something to you, I never made long distance calls when we was in a hotel and charged y'all no money. I never cost you nothing. I did everything that I could to make sure that all of our business was sound and everything was respected. I never disrespected your family. I never disrespected you. None of that. So if anybody got a problem with me, speak now, forever hold your peace. And I asked each bone member individually what problem they had with me. Be it Wishbone, what I do to you? Oh, he say, I heard you sign with Death Row. Okay, well now that you know that ain't the truth, what the fuck you got your nose twisted up for?
It's crazy.
You heard
the way a rumor would spread out of something like that. It's that telephone game all the way to you got to deal with death row.
We don't play with rumors because we know each other. If you think I did something, call my phone, page me. You know where I live. You know where I'm at. We ain't strangers. Don't act like you heard something and now these are the reasons why you got problems with me. Let's keep it 100. The reason why you got problems with me is because you don't plan on paying your audits. The reason why you got problems with me is because you know I ain't the motherfucker to play with like that. The reason why you got problems with me is because I'm gonna call you out when you do some things that's not conducive to respect for men and people that's around you. So at the end of the day, we creating problems with me because I'm the problem because I expect to get paid for my art.
So the attempt to, I guess, reconnect GYS, which at that time, at least to Bone, would have meant under Mo Thug. That doesn't work out. And do you and Tombstone have a chance to reconnect and get on the level before he passes away? Or what? So can you talk about the effect of not reconnecting with Tombstone?
Tombstone bit into my beef now with Mo Thug because like I told the artists in that room, first of all, y'all not getting paid. And second of all, ain't none of y'all can beat me. So while y'all running y'all mouth, you know what I'm saying, I challenge anybody in this room to a rap battle, you know what I'm saying, and when we can show and prove because I'm not just some disgruntled ass, fake ass non-rapper that's running his mouth. I can show and prove with my art. And T-Rock took it personal like I was also talking to him. So after that meeting, he pulled down on me like, you know, what's up with the bounty that you got on us?
Archie says true story.
Yeah, my bounty wasn't on their head. My bounty was on your rap ability. I wasn't trying to kill you. I wasn't trying to do nothing to you. I wasn't trying to abuse you in no physical form or fashion. But when we talking about this art, and when we talking about this art, if you're going to bring this art to the table, let's talk about who the best and who can do some shit. And then we can talk about what everything else is. Because I can't tell you to pay me and I can't show and prove with my talent.
Yeah, even Sin said you were very lyrically advanced. In his interview, that was one of the things he had mentioned about you, that you were very lyrical and advanced in that way.
Yeah, see, so I put in my work, man. I don't take nothing away from nobody else, but I put in work, bro. I sat in my house with my gates locked and my doors locked, and I played instrumentals from Archie Blaine and everybody else for hours and hours and hours until I perfected my craft, till I thought I could beat everybody. I thought I could beat anybody. I thought at that time, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. So I challenged anybody. It wasn't about me just challenging Mo Thug. You can ask Kermit. If you ever interview Kermit, I used to show up there if he remember me, and I don't care if Top Authority came up there, anybody came up there. I told him, if you want to come to Cleveland, you got to be the best. You got to beat the best. And I would challenge them. And Kermit used to put me out his record store for challenging his guests. I'm an asshole like that.
Do you remember roughly about what year it was that they tried to reconnect everyone? It must have been in the 90s. Either end of 96 or beginning of 97.
It had to be 96, 97, because that's when everything went totally awry. That's when everything, it wasn't no reconciliation.
Because Tombstone died shortly, after that. After
no
that
reconciliation period. After that.
Wow. So and of course we know that GYS during that time, they recorded Still Waters. It never actually gets a release. But GYS does get that record put out. The reunion with you doesn't happen. Did you get a chance to hear Still Waters?
Man, a lot of the songs on Still Water is copyrighted by me. I just didn't challenge it. You know what I'm saying? Because I love them dudes, regardless what it is that we go through, and I wanted that music to be heard. So I listen to Still Waters. I love the album. So I think that is missing something. And the thing that Still Waters is missing is my input. You know what I'm saying? I listen to it. I enjoy it. I think that it's the best thing that they put together amongst themselves. But it's no different than making a Ghetto Boys album without Scarface. It's no different than making a album without the main components. You know what I'm saying? The people who really genuinely is involved in that. So when I hear the Still Waters, I love it, but I hate it because it's not truly representative of Graveyard Shift brand and who we truly were had we all came together like Voltron.
Right. Yeah, I bet it's a very double-edged sword. Like, in one way, it must be great to know that a GYS record did get recorded, but for you, it's truly not a GYS record because it's missing that powerful piece that was you. Do you know about how long after it was recorded you got a chance to hear it?
I mean, first let me say I'll never accept a Graveyard Shift without me. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm always gonna have that. But I think I heard it. I can't even tell you when I first started playing, I couldn't even listen to it really. You know what I'm saying? Because it hit me. It's like, you know what I'm saying, having a child you can't see, or it's having a child you can't be a part of their life. So for me, you know what I'm saying, it was personal and it was emotional. So I didn't give it the once over like I really do later. Now that I've overcome those emotions, overcame those feelings, now I sit and I listen to it with really a non-personal ear. And I hear the greatness. I already knew they was great. I believed in Tombstone. I believed in Sin with all my heart. You know, so I never took nothing from them as they talent-wise. I just feel like it's just not the Graveyard Shift without the Graveyard Shift.
Where you had mentioned something that made me feel like maybe some of those songs were like songs that you guys had maybe written together and they put out. Like, were those songs there, or were some of those things that you had also worked on earlier before they actually got recorded?
Man, me and Tombstone sat a lot of times and wrote music together. You know, I always looked at the ladder effect. When you sit around great people, you make great music, you make great product. So we always tend to try to one-up each other at the same time. It was a friendly competition. So when we sat there and we came up with music and songs and ideas for the Graveyard Shift, that's what we did. So I expect when he dropped the album without me to still have that influence, to still have those terms or ideas. I expect that. So I didn't take it personal like it was a personal affront to me. I just took it like it was a personal affront to our ability to create the greatness that we sat and created from scratch together.
One thing that was different on Still Waters was Romeo Antonio's input. He helped bring a lot of that like real guitar and drum to the album. And I would say to even some fans maybe considered like, you know, like almost like a member of GYS at that point, kind of like the way people look at DJ Unique being in Bone or Archie and Too True. How'd you feel about his work on there and what he brought to the sound?
I don't know him personally, but he brought forth to life the ideas that I know we had and that Tombstone had in his mind. So when he sat with that man and he came up with his concept and allowed him to do whatever artistical additions he made to it, he did an excellent job. I accommodated.
Yeah.
I would have loved to work with him. I would have loved to have been a part of that. So, you know what I'm saying? I accommodate his effort. I think he did a great job. I love it.
Yeah, he really did bring something at that time to, I mean, specifically to GYS, but he had a lot of input on a lot of the Mo Thug records, and especially the second one. I think maybe the first one, but like Crazy Bones solo, he did a lot. Romeo played a big part, so I was always curious what you thought, because he brought that real guitar, and something Sin had just talked about was, you know, the way that Tombstone kind of loved that, but he did it with that sampler and stuff that he had, and it was just a game changer for it to be real.
I wish I could have seen him do it. I wish I only met a certain couple producers in my life that could really reproduce the sound that an artist trying to create. When I was making my solo music, there's a dude named Mefika Williams up in Cleveland Heights. He was always capable of bringing my sound, because I had a different sound than the actual Graveyard Shift itself when I did my personal music. But you know what I'm saying? When you find a producer that you can jug with, that can help bring your sound to life, bring your ideas to life, and bring your art to life, you can't take nothing from that, because everybody can't do that. It's like a great relationship. Everybody can't do that.
So we figured out that this must have been right around very late 96 to early 97 where this doesn't come together. From there, the next time that I know from pictures in our conversations that you were with them, and maybe you'll tell me that there was a time before this, but the next time I saw it was around that 2000 time when Lazy Bone was starting to do his solo, and maybe like Mo Thugs 3. I know you had some pictures with Lazy then, you guys hanging out. And was there no time between, like, I guess them trying to bring you back into GYS and that next time, or did you see them, like, what was your relationship with them over that time?
Man, in life, people will run across you and they'll say whatever it takes to get through that moment. So I start realizing that when we run across each other and you friendly with me and friends with me, at the end of the day, you still behind the scenes doing things to incumbent my ability to be successful at what I do. So, you know what I'm saying? I start realizing, you know, just how people are in the industry. People smile in your face and then go behind the scenes and do what they want to do to you, you know, and people definitely gonna smile in my face because they don't know how I'm gonna respond or what I'm gonna do at this moment. And I ain't never the dude to just fly off the handle, or, you know, I don't make scenes. I'd rather make crime scenes. So if we ain't going that far, there ain't no point in me really, you know what I'm saying, making no issue about nothing. Because my beef really wasn't never a real beef for real. My goal was just to make the Graveyard Shift what it needed to be. And anybody who incumbent to that, I just, you know, I ain't got no respect for you. I sit, we'll smile, we take some pictures, we have a good time and call it a day. Because at the end of the day, for real, we was responsible for our own destiny. And the Graveyard Shift chose its destiny, and it got what it got.
Like, for instance, those pictures, like, I think you sent me some pictures and you said they were like 2000, 2001. It's like you and Lay and like a couple girls. Was that like you guys just running into each other somewhere, or like how?
We like good friends, but in behind the scenes, when we stop and we have our conversation, it's always this or that. But at the end of the, I think we always have a respect for each other, because I respect them. I respect their talent. I respect the work that they put in. I respect the trip that they took all the way to Los Angeles with faith in nobody but they self and each other. Every man don't have that power. Every man don't have that goal and objective and that dedication, discipline, and sacrifice to make greatness happen. So I'm always respect greatness and allow greatness to walk the planet. You know what I'm saying? Without me trying to do something to stop it or harm it or hinder it. Unfortunately, everybody don't think like me. Unfortunately, everybody don't act like me. People see greatness and want to stifle it out. People want to take the fire out of it, you know what I'm saying, so they can continue their shine. I'm just not that person.
Was there ever talk about, after that initial, you know, conversation when T-Rock was still alive and they, you know, tried to possibly get you back, was there ever talk again about you possibly being in Mo Thug? Or has it always been off the table since then?
That was off the table. I was never going back to Mo Thug. I didn't think that Mo Thug was capable of allowing the Graveyard Shift brand to thrive the way the Graveyard Shift need to grow.
Even after GYS, like after Tombstone? There was no conversation, because Sin was still there a little bit. You know, Sin even ended up doing like the Night Riders with Crazy Bone and stuff. So he hung solo for a while.
I applaud him for that, you know what I'm saying, and being a part of that. But me, when I looked at the industry, I've never seen artists that accommodate another artist thrive after that artist's run is over. So when I look at somebody like Nelly, I don't hear the Saint Lunatics when Nelly's run is over. I don't hear the Outlaws after Tupac's run is over. So when you ride behind an artist that's a feature artist, when their career over or they start dying down, you do too. So what you got to do is set yourself apart from that. And I recognize that from the beginning. When Scarface do something different, the product don't thrive. When Scarface do something different, Face Mob don't thrive. So every time they bring somebody in, that secondhand group is never standing on its own. So my goal and my objective was for the Graveyard Shift to stand on its own and be able to come home with its own empire and contribute to Mo Thug, and then contribute to Bone, and contribute to Cleveland, and contribute to everything. It was never about being behind nobody. If I'm behind you, it's because I support you, but not because I'm riding on your coattail. And that was my difference.
In our interview with Sin, and part of this you've already answered, but in our interview with Sin, we had asked him if he'd be down to do a GYS reunion with you or Gates or possibly two of you, which we know now Gates is way off the table, but would a reunion with you and Sin making some new GYS for the fans, is that a possibility, or do you think that's off the table as well?
I mean, if it's genuine, I like dealing with genuineness, not when you know what I'm saying, think because I'm home, I might be having a problem with you and you want to placate me. That's not my goal, you know what I'm saying, or what I will accept at this point. If you genuinely want to do something with me and you genuinely want to come together, but you know, when you tell me things on the backside over the phone, how you truly feel about me, and I think that's the truth speaking, I can't say that I'm willing to contend with that, because I don't take betrayal lightly. I don't take loyalty lightly. I don't take them things lightly, and I don't like people selling each other dreams. A pair of lips are fried chicken. But at the end of the day, if your lips don't mean what they say, then you got to be able to back it. Scarface says your balls and your word. If your word don't mean nothing, you better have some balls. So if you genuinely want to do something, you say it out your mouth, let your balls, your actions back your words. Other than that, it don't mean nothing to me.
Well, as a fan, I really hope that you two found some sort of common ground. Hopefully, in the future, you guys have a chance to maybe chop it up. I know as fans, we would love to see that. Over the course,
I would love to see it.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong.
It would be great.
Not discounted. I would love to see it, but it got to be genuine, or it's not going to give the fans what they deserve, and what they deserve is genuineness.
Yeah, definitely. I would say over this interview, your passion for Graveyard Shift has, superseded the hunger for the money or the fame, and more so making sure that the vision was lived correctly. So I can see that for you guys to do it now, it would have to be the same thing. It would have to be really real about GYS. And hey, man, we would love to see it. I told you this, off, and I'll tell you, online with everybody else, if there's anything that we can ever do to assist, past what you and Sin would have to come together, we would absolutely do it. I think that it would be for Bone fans, or specifically Mo Thug fans, that would be one of the biggest reunions for us to be able to see, because it truly isn't possible on many avenues to get a quote-unquote new Graveyard Shift song without you playing the part.
Possible.
So during this interview, we touched that you've spent a large portion of your life incarcerated. In fact, when you and I got linked up, you were just transitioning out of this situation.
In the halfway house.
Yeah, and that's when we started talking. So now, you're out of that. We're hearing this interview. It's 2021. We've made it through COVID. You've made it through fucking Ruthless Records, Bone, this Mo Thug, prison. Where are you headed? Like, what's your vision now at this chapter in your life?
Right now, I'm just enjoying freedom.
Yeah.
Enjoying life and really trying to reconcile my past with my present and my future. So I'm using the experiences that I done had, not only in the music industry, but through prison and through the streets, to try to help others. So I find myself dealing with end of violence programs, trying to stop gang violence, trying to stop problems in the street, and trying to show dudes that there's a different way. And if you really believe in yourself and your ability, then you can make things happen. Because for real, a lot of my problems just came from my decision making. It came from my wanting to be in the streets more so than wanting to chase my gift, chase my talent. So, you know what I'm saying? I continued to be a part of the streets, and the streets kept being a part of my downfall. So if I could help some young brothers or some young people, period, just make the adjustments that are taking your life to not make the wrong decisions to be successful at whatever it is, then that's what I'm trying to do now. That means a lot to me, just making a difference with people, just like I wanted to make a difference with my music. I was trying to make a difference as an individual.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always interesting to be. I'm now in my late 30s, and I spend a lot of my time working in the industry, and it's a lot of young dudes between 15 and 23, 24, and it's amazing to see the influence you have. And you think about being that young, and you're like, wow, I didn't know shit when I was your age. I wish I would have had somebody to tell me this shit. And I feel like an old dude. We be in this van, and they be trying to wild out, and I'm like, y'all need to calm the fuck down and not act like this. And I'm like, I was so wild at this age. And it's always it's a blessing to have an OG who can guide you through some of the storm, because it's really something.
Hopefully they respect me as that and just let me, you know what I'm saying, guide them, give them some guidance. I ain't perfect. I just try to give them the game that I wish I would have knew back then, especially when it came to the industry and I was too busy wilding to take advantage of the opportunities that was given to me.
It's been an amazing interview. I think Archie Blaine's been in here the whole time. He just said this is one of the best and realest interviews you've done to date. Respect.
That's my man. Tell Archie I love you.
Archie can hear you loud and clear. And yeah, we've worked with Archie. He's always like a source of information. I bug the hell out of Archie anytime I got to know something. I'd be in Archie Blaine's inbox, and he actually helped us get Jazz last season, and hopefully we see some more of them in this season. A couple things before I let you go that we had a couple fans ask, and just a couple random things that I missed that I didn't want to backtrack in the middle of things. First, I don't know if you'll be able to help with this. Kyle Ricketts says, I've never heard another artist mention Top Authority. Does he know what ever happened to Top Authority?
Man, I was actually dating one of their cousins. Her last name Peacock. And then every time I tear up a car, I need something painted, I go to one of the other cousins. His last name Peacock. They up here in Cleveland. And for far as I heard, one of them had some problems, but ended up in jail for doing some stuff high on PCP. I don't know. You know, I don't want to put no bad papers out there on nobody. I just heard they had issues, but I know at the time their music came out, I had to pop him. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how it went down. You know what I'm saying? I love them cats from Michigan. I love all the artists from the Great Lakes, whether they come from Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, even New York. I know they don't consider themselves Great Lakes. They consider themselves East Coast, but I love Great Lake music. I don't even consider they call us the Midwest. I don't think we Midwest. I think we Great Lakes. So I love all the Great Lakes artists, including Top Authority, Dayton Family, all them cats from
Dayton Family. Yeah, I love
MC
Dayton
Breed.
Family.
I was just listening to Breed today. So,
the real Trilly Trill wants to know which Bone member is 101 the coolest with, and I guess if it's none of them right now, which one were you the coolest with?
I think me and Flesh and Bone was real tight for a long time until he decided to whatever it is he thought he had a beef with me. Like I said, everybody made up fake beefs with me. Me and him was super tight. That was my man, still is. You know what I'm saying? Crazy actually called me some years ago and basically told me, you know, he agreed with me. You know what I'm saying? I was a real dude and he wanted to do some things with me. And unfortunately, I ended up going to do a decade in prison right after we had that conversation about me being on the album he was supposed to be dropping at the time called Gemini.
Yeah.
I don't have no real just inbred animosity with nobody. I learned to let that stuff go when I realized that, you know what I'm saying, all my downfalls was at my own behest.
Would
you know
you
whatever happened to me was my own decision making and whatever I did, so I don't hold grudges against people. I got love for them dudes. I still listen to their music. I still respect them. If I see them now, it's all hugs and, you know what I'm saying, good to see you, glad you're alive, glad you know what I'm saying, made it where you made it. That's what it is.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, I mean, if you guys run into each other at a show or they're back in the land or something, like, is it love when you see each other? Is it,
I mean,
love with a distance?
I mean, for me, it's always gonna be what it's always been. We see each other, we give hugs, we say how you doing. You know what I'm saying? We reminisce, we smile, and we go our separate ways. I don't see it going nowhere else because at the end of the day, you know what you did. You know how you did me. You know what I'm saying, the things you did behind the scenes to stop me from being where I got. And I wouldn't want to be around nobody I did stuff to behind the scenes either. So I get it. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got no problem with it. Hey, how you doing? Enjoy your life. Keep it moving. That's what I'm doing.
One of the listeners wanted to know, what does 101 mean?
101 started off just because I just like numbers. I've always been a mathematical cat. I've been a nerd most of my life. Mathematics was my science. And I chose 101. And then as I ventured into life and into things, the 101 started meaning something more and more to me. Every science I went to, in more science, the 101s is the 101 questions that's asked to the Moors children to indoctrinate you and get you, you know what I'm saying, really knowing about the Moors and where we come from. The 101 turned sideways was what they considered tachyon energy insulation to connect us to our elders. It meant, you know what I'm saying, knowledge, cipher knowledge in the 5% nation. 101 just started meaning so much to me that I'm glad I took it and I'm glad I embraced it, and it continues to mean something. But when I took it, it just meant my head in the middle of two different people, an angel and a demon. And that one was this individual and that one was this individual. Plus I used to hustle on 101st. But you know what I'm saying, as I grew and evolved, I started to realize that the universe allowed me to take on that name because it had a lot more universal meaning, a lot more spiritual significance.
You went from Grave Young Soul, which is GYS, to 101 The Untamed to 101, is that right?
Yeah, I was the evil one untamed back when we used to look into all type of different negative energy things to talk about. You know, so we used to do homework to use certain things because we thought that that's what the industry wanted. But as we start to evolve from that, we put that to the side. But so I got rid of the evil and I got rid of the untamed and just took on the 101.
I've asked a few different people this question. I think I asked Sin. I know I asked Tony Tone. In your opinion, or maybe it's more than opinion, why isn't Busy Bone on Shots of the Double Glock?
I mean, while you saying this is the first I even realized.
No Busy Bone. It's easy to just say, hey, it's already a long song. It's got, 4, 7, 8, 9. I mean, it's got like 10 fucking people on it. So what's one more? I always bring it up, and here's why. Busy Bone never really had shit to do with Mo Thug, with the exception of some very, very small things. He's been disconnected right down to Shots of the Double Glock. So we've always wondered, was there a disconnection early, or was it truly just there's 10 people on here? What the fuck do we need 11?
I mean, I don't know. I find it funny you even bring that up because I never even realized he wasn't on the song.
Yeah.
So busy. I don't know about
he had flesh, so
I know at that time, you know what I'm saying, he was staying in the guest house and was kind of separated from everybody that was at the house. You know what I'm saying? He had his children and his girl out there while everybody else stayed in the house. They was in the guest house and he had his own issues he was contented with. So I don't know if it was a personal reason, it was just a time constraint, or what it is, because he showed up and showed off on everything else. So I don't know. I can't speak on that. I couldn't give you a logical answer without surmising, and I won't do that.
I just want to clarify, you were incarcerated at the time the Crossroads video came out, or were you not?
The Crossroads video. Shit, I don't even remember when that was. I don't know.
That wouldn't have been till 90. Let's see, Eternal would have been 95, but the Crossroads video actually would have been in 96.
I know we shot first of the month over on Remington. I remember shooting that. I just didn't get in it.
You're not in that video?
No, I was outside. Like I said, I really wasn't a camera person. I'm camera shy.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't my goal and objective to get in the video. I just like to watch them get shot. But the Crossroad video, I don't recall that. I don't know where I was at. I couldn't tell.
Earlier, we had spoke about the building that the Heller family owned. A couple other buildings that you and I had spoke about in private, and you may have referenced these earlier. I believe it was 718 and maybe 724 on the corner of 99th. Were those the ones that you said you were living around with Crazy's family, or were those different ones? Those seem significant to you.
That's them. They stayed at 724, and Crazy's mom's boyfriend's uncle owned 718. I guess their grandma died and left them 2 separate ones on the end of the row house. It was a 4-suite row house. They owned both corners. So when we hustled out the corner, sometimes you might run out of one and run in the back door to the other one or go across the roof. So we just went simultaneously from one to the other.
John, my co-host,
that's where we shot. That's where Thuggish Ruggish Bone was shot at, and For the Love of Money was shot there too.
Oh, the ones that you sent me the pictures of are the one. Is that the one that they're in at the beginning when they walk out of the building?
Oh shit, I don't remember the actual video, but I know they were shot at them facilities because that was the main hub.
That's crazy.
Did. When we shot our rap videos, our rap battles, when we was trying to get money for them to go to LA and all that, that's where we did it at. That was significant because that was the launching point of everything we did was from that 724 East 99.
Wow. That's awesome. Man, that's awesome. I guess okay. Well, John, I'll ask this one, and I see Kyle's got a question in the comments. John put in our chat, he wanted to know if there were any releases you ended up doing solo or anything like that we haven't heard. I know you lost a lot of stuff over your incarceration.
The only thing I think that came out was I dropped a couple songs with a local label that I start trying to mess with to bring them to a certain level in the industry, and that was Red Entertainment, Red Eye Records, my dude Tone Mac, and I put 2 songs on a compilation that they put out. I don't even know if that material is out there somewhere somebody could get it. I think I probably got the CD maybe somewhere in a compartment. But as far as released information or released songs, I did songs with a lot of different people. I got cuts with Bushwick Bill.
Damn.
That's but they never came out for different reasons. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why the universe and life stopped me from being able to, you know what I'm saying, present myself the way that I tried to, or my choices and decisions, whatever it was that hindered me. But I probably got 100 songs out there somewhere.
The I know we asked about a GYS, reunion, and you said, these would kind of be the terms. Even without that, are there any chances for Graveyard Shift fans that we get a new 101 track?
I mean, Freaky G contacted me.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
People always contact me and they ask me to feature with them, and you know what I'm saying, I'm humble about that and I appreciate it. So I told him I would do what I do, but right now at this point in my life, I'm just trying to get my life situated, you know what I'm saying, and make up different times that I done lost in my life. So I'm never in part denying that I'll do something with somebody because, I appreciate the cameo, I appreciate the offer and all that. And I just told Freak yesterday, he sent me some tracks and I'll do some things with it. And I might do that in the near future just because, you know what I'm saying, I appreciate people and I see that people have been interested in not only me, the Graveyard Shift and that. So I would be grateful just to give some people a piece of me.
Yeah, I would love to see that. I know the fans would. I'm real close with Freaky G. We've had Freaky G on in season 3, and he's got a really nice setup. And hey, if you do a new 101 song, you gotta let me get that exclusive. I'll drop it over 8,000 people for you. Let's make that happen.
I respect you. I like you as a person.
I'll push that hard.
I appreciate all your back and I appreciate all your energy and support. So, so I would definitely give you that.
Yeah, bro. Hey, let's work. I told you, and I tell pretty much everybody that comes on as an alumni, whatever we can do to help, a guest, we do it. And I don't care if it's music or if you're Archie and you got a hot dog stand and we're pushing the hot dog stand, we're down for our guests. So anything that you see that my platform can help you with 101, it's your fucking platform, brother. All you got to do is hit me up. You got my number.
Where Archie hot dog stand at so I can stop by and support?
Archie, where are you located? Hopefully Archie's still in here. Archie, drop it if you got it. He might move it around.
Now give me the link. You know how to contact.
Yeah, I got you. I'll definitely.
Man, always have, always will.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely find out where he's at. The last thing, and then I'll let you be on your way, and it's completely optional. Kyle Rickett says,
because we've been rolled.
Can he spit a verse for us?
To what?
To whatever they want to know, whatever you got. If you got something that's embedded in your brain, they just want to hear a one-on-one spit.
I mean, I'll tell you how something I felt about the graveyard shift when everything happened was a song that a lot of people always request from me. They want to hear it because I used to put out a lot of stuff local, but they never, you know what I'm saying? I never put it out to the world. I just let people hear it who was part of that. You know what I'm saying? But when I had a problem with everything, I made a song called Betrayal. Say the nerve of you. Try to take my hard work. Now look at you. Up under yard dirt. You know how hard it hurt when a nigga take your artwork, slice it, dice it. Try to sell it for the highest prices. But you know that is priceless. All the nights spent, blood, sweat, and tears. I put Lordy first for years, and it cost me all my deals. I got blackballed. Graveyard shift iconic. I named you Tombstone. Ain't ironic? Your name engraved in a tombstone. I came out of prison, former member that went Jehovah's Witness. But 101 of witnesses, I get this off my shitness. My revenge is relentless. This ain't business, it's personal. I cursed the Hershey roadie and hoped it burst into flame. If I was out, I'd have came to church and hit you again. Seeing you just emotional. I seen what you posted. Now you in hiding like you supposed to. Why everybody that close to you? You know what they wanted to do. Manage the crew like a madam would do or a faggot would do. They want to fuck boys to stay hushed and don't make much noise. But me, I'm like that Dutch boy. I paint a nigga. I've been in cage with gorillas. I stick that stainless in.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is 101 original Graveyard Shift member 101. I got to thank you, brother, for taking the time out of your night to come on here. I know there's been a lot of lead up. Me and you have been talking for quite some time about this interview and what it would be. And I would say that it absolutely delivered more than I could have anticipated. And I hope that it helped you do what we talked about so much, which is tell your story in a way that you feel good about.
No doubt about it. I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate just being able to talk to people who've been encouraging to me and supported me, even when you put the thing on there and the dudes say, you know, OG out of Federal. And I appreciate people that know my history, know my walk, understand my plights and tribulations, you know what I'm saying, and supported me through all that, supported the Graveyard Shift, Bone, and everybody like that. You know what I'm saying? I love the fans. I always love people that back other people. So my love and kudos go to everybody out to do that. And I appreciate it. My heart goes out to everybody. Hope everybody survives this life.
Archie says E.1999 Street, Chester is
Okay.
where you'll be able to find Arch Dogs.
On 59th and Chester.
So that's where you can find that. And I got to ask one more question because it's important and I totally forgot. And then I'm going to let you go. You sent it to me and I didn't know it was you and I used it in the 101 trailer. I think you're the fourth trailer I've ever made, but there's a video and it's Bone on BET and you and T-Rock are in it.
Right.
Just give me the low on that and then I'll let you have your night. Where were y'all? How did that come together? So crazy.
Joe Claire was shooting them on BET. You know what I'm saying? We was all invited to be a part of it. At the last end of it.
The recording has stopped.
Hello?
Yo, you're good. Keep going.
Oh, like I said, you know, so I really wasn't into the limelight thing or trying to be in the camera, but we kept getting invited into the camera. And he asked them what they had going on next. He spoke on us. So, you know what I'm saying? We stepped forward and said, hey.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, he was just down on 99th showing his love and videotaping them and doing the thing. That's when everything was coming out. So, you know, we just enjoyed the moment and called it a day.
It was so crazy when you sent it to me and you were like, that's me. And when I saw it and it was just, you know, it's that like grainy kind of pixely video and all that. And I was like, I'm making a fucking 101 trailer. This has got too much mystery. 101 and T-Rock just
like,
pulling
where
up.
can I find the whole video? Because I just sent you screenshots from
101 and T-Rock just pulling up.
Yeah. No, I went and found the whole thing. You saw the trailer, I assume, right? I sent you that trailer.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. You like the
No
fourth?
doubt. You put in your work.
Yeah, man. Hey, I try to make it look good. 101, my man. You let me know if there's anything I can do for you, and I hope this isn't the last time we have you on. Next time you come on, we'll just have to talk some more shit. We talked the story now, and I'd love to have you come back and we'll just chop it up.
I'm always good for talking shit, man.
Oh
Now that
yeah.
I'm just free and enjoying life, man, and really just comfortable with being a part of the world. So don't worry. Anytime you want me, I'll come on and speak to you, your listeners, whatever y'all want.
Hell yeah, bro. I appreciate it. I know we're going to stay in contact because I'm going to have to get that exclusive for you and Freaky G anyway. Freaky G's going to have me in his fucking inbox after this.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a cut with him. We're gonna make it fire, man. We put something out.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. 101 again. I want to thank you, brother. I hope you have a great rest of your night.
For sure. You too, man. All y'all listeners, man. Love y'all.
Hell yeah. Thank you, brother.
Peace.
Let's fill the chat up with 100s for 101, y'all. That was a great interview. I had a great time. John, you fell out for a second, but you're back. Oh, John still looks like he's freezing up. Matt, looks like we keep losing Johnny. I don't know what John's going through, but I got Matt. Maybe I got Matt.
Oh, I'm here, man. I was just in awe of 101.
All right.
That was
I got Matt.
for that to be his only interview and for him to give it to Beyond the Harmony. How does that make you feel, Cecil?
Oh man, those are always the ones, those are always the ones that get me when when Archie told me that the first time, like, hey, this is the first interview I've done, all that kind of stuff. It really means something to me because I don't think that they're the first interviews because they couldn't find a place, especially with the internet, to tell their story. Yeah. I think that when you deal with a lot of these people that we interview, there's been a lot of fuckery in their life and they don't trust a lot of shit. And I'm honored that we've built a platform that someone can trust with their story. And the longevity of their story, and that it won't be altered or it won't be silenced. Part of that was the move to live. I've taken backlash from some fans about censoring the Capone interview and censoring the Archie interview. And I remember being in my shoes and feeling like I had to do that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I feel like that because I have this sitting on my hard drive. And I'm the only one with this information. I can't be the guy that did it. But I also felt like a piece of shit because these two guys told me this openly, knowing that it was going to go there, and I silenced them essentially. But I felt like for me as a fan of the bigger picture, I couldn't take it from a hard drive to there. And I was like, the live's going to help me with that because I don't want to silence people. There's no edit here. This is raw. Mm-hmm. This is uncut. And I will say, if we were looking to kick off season 4 raw and uncut, that interview was just about as fucking raw and uncut as you could get. Matt has been so excited for this interview. How was it, bro?
It was. I didn't know what to expect because he's been incarcerated for so long, and I think it was maybe the most mysterious thing to me about Eternal and Mo Thug, I think, personally. So anything that happened today, I knew I was going to be happy with, but I didn't know that it was going to go that far. On top of it, I just liked his personality a lot.
Yeah,
and
me
I
too.
liked his point of view. So that doubled it for me.
Can you believe this guy's like, yeah, it wasn't about being on camera. I didn't do interviews, shit like that. I'm like, this guy's got so much like charisma and energy, and like what an enjoyable just presence and personality he had.
Yeah, his attitude and his approach to everything, I really resonated with. I don't like being the center of attention at all either, so I really enjoyed hearing that from someone who I consider a great rapper. It was very entertaining.
I just want to go ahead.
Also have to. It's impossible for me to comprehend what his free time means to him and how valuable it is, and his freedom. So for him to give some of that away,
right,
it means a lot. And I hope that all the listeners take time to reflect on that as well.
That's so true. We're talking about a guy he told me he spent 15 years of his life incarcerated. And, we just took 2.5 hours from him to talk about things that at this point he's really closed those wounds up. I always try to impress that on people too, is that we're talking to a lot of these people 25 years. They've had a lot of time to make good with this, and we're making them open wounds. When people are like, just interview this person, just interview that person. It's a lot of them have made good with this. They don't want to reopen this. It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, and I think I can tell when you write the questions, you take great care to ask them in a way that is respectful and not TMZ. We like to joke about TMZ, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. I do try to write the questions in a way that are respectful to the guest and a bone. I know that we take the fucking heat here that, for whatever reason, but we truly do a lot of things over here out of respect for Bone, but also out of respect for the person coming on. I just want to encourage, by the way, sidebar, I want to encourage you all, if you enjoy these interviews, if you enjoy what John and Matt and I do, whether it's the interviews, whether it's fucking BNN or decodings or anything else, hit the super chat button. Hit our Cash App, that's Beyond the Harmony. Go to streamlabs.com/donation. Do that. Those are the things that help us keep going. You saw tonight that we've put in almost 3 hours. And if you knew the amount of groundwork that we put in just to make this interview happen, it's hours and hours. So your donations all go to the show, and I encourage you guys to do them. John Lippy, it looks like you're back. You got no sound. Nope, you got a nice face. You got no sound.
Oh, man.
Oh, there you are.
There we go.
You got sound.
Now you look good and sound good.
Hey. Well, yeah, no, my other mic caused my whole sound card to crash out, and I missed it right when the freestyle was happening. So I'm going to have to go back and watch the game tape on this one, because I saw the chats rolling through, and I'm like, oh, my God, I can't hear this right now.
Dog, it sucked too when you disconnected. It was like, the recording is stopped. I'm like, I hate that Zoom added that fucking audio disclaimer. You saw 101 when we started recording. He was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I had you do that, though, because I was like, well, if the live shits the bed, we'll have the Zoom and we'll have a backup that I can upload if this live is the shit.
And not only that, what we see on our end, I was thinking on the Mo Monday tip, there was so much Mo Monday material in this episode.
Cold-blooded, my man. Shout out to Cold-Blooded, $10 super chat. We appreciate you so much. Cold-Blooded has a very lengthy interview with us on the platform, and we also have a song with Cold-Blooded and I believe Lazy Bone. So if you guys don't know Cold-Blooded, he's right on our channel. Shout out Cold-Blooded with $10 super chat.
Oh yeah. Yeah, what was what the heck was I just saying? Oh yeah, there's Mo Mondays. So I'm glad I recorded it from our end, because maybe when we do the Mo Mondays, if the footage came out and hopefully that recording came out, we could get like a different perspective. Because I noticed, like, as we re-released some of the interviews from our live, the view count's kind of low, but if you get to see it from a different angle, with like 101 full screen.
Do whatever you want. Mo Mondays are all on you now, so I'm out. Whatever you want. That's completely, like, I'm signing over full control of the Mo Monday. That's all on your plate. Do what you want.
Nice.
Dude,
yeah. No, I'm gonna do that, because there was so much. I mean, I definitely think the part when 101 explained the part from, you said it was Land of the Heartless, Busy Bones verse.
Yeah.
Like that just brought that to life. It reminded me of when K Chill was talking about Chill bringing weapon when stepping, and when Freaky G mentioned Bone got the brain power, Mo Thug got the muscle. When you get to find out that these lyrics, it's not just clever things to say. There's an actual reality behind it, or real people behind it.
Yeah.
It just brings the song to even more life. So, and it makes Bone seem even more real, So those
Cold-Blooded made Bone seem pretty fucking real, bro. Like, I mean, I know we've been for 4 seasons proving it, but Cold-Blooded's interview, or Cold-Blooded, I got Cold-Blooded on the mind. I was literally thinking of the song in my head. 101, rather, he made him seem pretty fucking real. Done a lot of interviews, but something about his hit home for me. I've been so excited about this interview for a long time now, and we usually talk about this off, but we'll just do our wrap up that we usually do offline together. This motherfucker delivered for me. this delivered.
Yeah, not only that, a lot of his character matches, see, so, like who you really are as a person, just the loyalty aspect, the way that, he kept it real for Graveyard Shift when was a Rap-A-Lot was offering him a deal just for him, but you got to leave your boys behind. He stayed true to the game. And I know that's definitely how you've done things throughout the years. So like, I was just seeing this through your lens and I'm thinking, man, Caesar West must absolutely love 101 because they're just like
he's
very similar guys.
Yeah. No, people don't know. I talk about it rarely on here, but John knows me really well outside of here, and everything about 101 hits home for me. I've had a really good like offline relationship just conversating with him, and I don't know if you were on here, John, when he was. I don't know at what point you got disconnected, but he may work with Freaky G. Him and Freaky G have been talking, and
that's awesome.
And if he does a song, we gonna get the exclusive 101 release on Beyond the Harmony. So whatever.
Freaky G, I think has more fun being alive than anybody. Man, that guy's always just doing cool stuff.
That's my guy. People hated people. Not people. Some people hated when we brought Freaky G on. And dog, he's been awesome. I talk to Freaky G all the time. He's one of my favorite Beyond the Harmony alumni. I really have a great rapport with him as well. And I like to go out of my way to point out, like, give this motherfucker his just due. He was in 93rd Infantry. He's on fucking Stillwaters, motherfuckers. Like, he's been around. So shout out Freaky G. If Freaky G and 101 do some shit, we gonna get the exclusives on it.
Yeah, either way, if it's a 101 solo, at this point, I'm like, man, I think everybody watching this interview is thinking like, bro, we want a 101 album or at least a track, like a solo track even, because he was just kicking so much game, so real. And not only that, what I wanted to get into, but we were like two hours deep, was just, this is a John thing, just to find out the deep spiritual knowledge that he had, because just the little hints he was dropping with the tachyons and everything, that's a deep concept. I don't know if anybody knows about tachyons, but if you want to expand your horizons, look up the tachyon telephone. And if you've ever seen the movie Tomorrowland, the way that whole entire machine worked was based on tachyons. And I can't imagine what levels he took it to. So I really appreciated not only the realness, but the spiritualness and the character. And not only that, the work ethic and his value of having good work ethic and good character, not wanting handouts, wanting to earn it. So many of these guys we've talked to are awesome men. So yeah, shout out to 101 and just by his demonstration of just being excellent.
Shout out to John wearing the Beyond the Harmony long sleeve that you can pick up at shop.beyondtheharmony.com or store.beyondtheharmony.com. You can pick that up along with a bunch of other designs. So shout out to John for wearing that. We talked a lot about this season, how this season's a little different, what changes you're experiencing. One that you're experiencing is the entire season being brought to you live and uncut. I will say that is going to change how often we do the show. I'd love to be able to commit to once a week to you guys, but the amount of workload that goes into these it's incredible. The behind the scenes is incredible, and doing them once a week would be real tough. We're shooting right now to do once every 2 weeks. Thursday is our home night, but as I said, for this season, you may see some different nights. It's going to be about what's good for the guest. I would even be selfish and say what's good for us. There's been some times that doing this Thursday for us has been a real bitch. So some flexibility coming and a little bit of spacing, but you're getting your whole episode with us live. And should I tell them, and this was supposed to happen in season 3, so I'm a little scared to say it, but should I tell them the confirmation for July 15th? And the whole place can give me the fingers crossed emoji that it comes together.
I don't know, man.
It's already confirmed. Like, it's the next announcement that's coming. Like,
I'll let Matt be the decider.
That's what's coming. This interview's over, and in the next 48 hours, an announcement about 2 weeks is fucking coming. So
this whole season is gonna be phenomenal. Kyle Ricketts says, "Yeah, man, bring it," but I don't know, man. I think surprises are good, but
Well,
hey,
it won't be a surprise in at least 48 hours. You know what? That's what I'll do. Even though I've confirmed twice with this person, I will confirm one more time with them and then announce in the next probably 48 hours.
Yeah,
nice.
man. I live for cliffhangers. I love having something to look forward to. So I think the fans just need to wait a little bit longer, and then it's going to be that much more sweet when you drop that announcement.
By the way, Tombstone's nephew raps and was in the chat, and Tombstone's nephew reached out and sent us some stuff in our inbox while we were doing this. So once we get off, I'll be checking that. I'll be taking the advice of my co-hosts and not announcing this for the next 48 hours. But when I tell y'all, you're gonna be fucking excited. And
Havoc Gang, do we got Havoc Gang in the
Havoc Gang stack, bro. That's my guy, bro.
That's awesome, bro. That's totally, yeah, man. Shout out to everybody that's with us tonight, that's dropped comments and hung out with us throughout the whole entire time. You know, a name that we keep hearing come up is Thorough. You know, whether it was seeing interviews of Crazy talking about it, Jazz tonight 101 mentioned. I think even maybe Archie might have mentioned Thorough. So that's another name that's out there. But not for season 4 though, because season 4 is already jam packed.
I have enough confirmed people. I have enough confirmed people that it's well over season 4. If they all come together, you know, that's another thing is I'll make contact with somebody and it's like the interview can't happen right now. It may not be able to happen for a few months, and then I lose contact with that person. There's a couple that I'm trying to reconnect with. Hopefully they all happen, but yeah, man. We may have our first interview this season that's 2 people at the same time.
Yeah.
2 guests. Have we ever had 2 guests at the same time?
Did we? I thought we had one. Well, we had Clay and Nitty at the same time, but Clay
was like a background.
Yeah.
He was kind of a background. He was almost like playing Matt's role in that interview, and he wasn't on there very long. Like that was a Nitty interview. This is actually us interviewing 2 people simultaneously.
Right.
Live.
Yeah, that's another great one that's going to happen. And
are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? 4 seasons of Beyond the Harmony. There's haters. There's imitators. There's threats. There's cheers. There's love. There's appreciation. There's super chats. There's so much in 4 seasons. Are you not entertained?
Bro, and not only that, like this interview right here, you know, we always ask, like, what's the best one? Or every time we have an interview, it's like, man, that one's the best one yet. This one too is like the best one yet, even though they're all the best one yet.
I saw a lot of people saying that in the chat tonight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This might be the most satisfied I've ever felt after an interview, especially as far as the Mo Thug story goes. I know we've all heard 50 different versions or however many episodes, 37 different Mo Thug stories, but the way he told it, about the way he just stood up for himself and spoke his truth, resonated a lot. And that might be the most that might be the version that I most would see as actually what transpired. But who's to say?
His was interesting too because his ended at a different time and at a different time in a different way than most of the other Mo Thugs we've interviewed. He wasn't technically a Mo Thug, but the potential. And so his story is different because of the path it went versus when we compare like Two True, Poetic Hustlers, Soulja Boy, etc. It's just a kind of a different spin on it. So it was really, it was interesting, man. I had a great time. I'm glad to be back in season 4. It's another stress, but we got to get it out the way because every day we're in Voxer, the 3 of us. And I'm like, got this guy, got this person, found this person. We got to make this happen.
Or we have like a whole season full of Voxers.
Yeah.
The whole off season, man. I should have just been downloading all that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Now this is a good season. Season 4 is fired up, and we don't even like. Aside from these interviews, I think there's going to be even some other surprises along the way during this thing. And as you said, the format's different. We're not going to hit you day by day because we tried it for season 3, and it just kills us. So this 2 weeks at a time.
Oh my God, the daily content of season 3 was the most. That was the most vigorous amount of work for YouTube of my existence.
Yeah.
Was that not the craziest shit doing like the full dude, season 3 it wasn't like it was 30 days of content, bro. Okay? Season 3 was what, couple months?
Yeah, man, it was like at least
closer
2 months.
To 3.
Yeah,
I think it was closer to 3.
Oh my God. And they got daily content for
crazy thing is I think we have like between all this other side stuff we might actually have stored from the contributions. If we line it up and get it all uploaded, we could actually drop at least we'll at least have one thing per week for sure. Sometimes 2 times, sometimes 3 times during this. And we even realized like that the questions of the week kind of seem like it's the actual show, but the real show is the interview. So, but also I want to give a shout out to Ray Moya. I am Ray Anthony. Check out his channel, man. I love his songs. He's kind of got like a bone sound to it, and they're real deep, soulful, and I love anytime I hear his stuff come out. I make sure to check it.
Yeah. I'm in awe. I'm always in awe. It's season 4. I don't know how we got into season 4 so quick. 101 is really how we got here.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It truly is. There was a couple other ones that had me close. If you remember, I was like, ooh. Like, I got some people on the roster that I was like, ooh, when we come around. But when 101 happened, that quickly became, we need to fucking come around for season 4. It went from like, when we do to, we need to do this. I got to get this interview.
Yeah, I think, and this also goes back to the fans, man. We had such a great end of the season with the crazy 8-hour marathon that we did, 9 hours, however long it was, just to see that people stuck with us for 9 hours, which is insane. And I think that gave life. We might have even wrapped up at season 3, but seeing that impact there and just the dedication from everybody that put the wind underneath the wing. We just needed a little vacation. So I think it's been 4 or 5 months. We did a few lives here and there. All the questions of the week were pre-recorded. So because of y'all, we're back for a season 4, and this one's going to be better than season 3, as hard as that may be.
Mm-hmm. So can you shout out again the individual who first introduced you? I know his brand name is St. Clair's Finest, but can you recap that again for everybody real quick?
Yeah, so it's actually, his name's Bryant Roberts. I think a bunch of people call him B. He owns Sinclair's Finest. I went ahead and did a tiny URL to his shop. It's tinyurl. I believe it's tinyurl.com / Sinclair's Finest. Let me just double check. Yes. tinyurl.com / Sinclair's Finest, and it will bring you over to Big B Graphics, and that's who makes the Sinclair's Finest clothing line. He had heard the Sin interview and us kind of, just like, wow, about 101 in the interview, and he had helped put the whole thing together and link us up. And like me and 101 talked about, he wasn't even out of when B first talked to me, he's like, I think he's in jail. And it just so happened that he was almost out and he was able to make the fucking contact for us. Like, it was truly like a Heaven's Movie moment where it's like he heard the interview. He's like, yo, this guy's got a story. I'm like, hook me up with this guy. He's like, I really don't know if I can. He might be in jail. And then he was getting out, and he was hitting that halfway house. And B hooked us up. And if it wasn't for B and Sinclair's Finest, then we wouldn't have got this interview. So shout out to Big B and Sinclair's Finest. And like I said, tinyurl.com / Sinclair's Finest is where you can find his gear.
Yeah, thanks for remembering that, Matt. So we get that extra shout out there. Also, that what you said there reminded me of what 101 was talking about with that there are no coincidences. And when he said that, were you just like, oh man, I know Jones.
Oh, dude. There were certain things he said that I was just like, yo, he's he's playing to my heart right now. And then he would say some shit that I'm like, this is some John shit. I know John's having to keep himself reeled in, and it was awesome because I heard Matt kind of say that he identified with a bunch of, you know, him where he doesn't necessarily want to be on camera and he's more reserved. And I'm like, this guy, this one single guy is hitting it on all the cylinders for the three very different personalities of Beyond the Harmony.
Yeah. Yeah. And also I wanted to just throw out the offer is still out there for anybody that wants to show off their collection. We put it out there so many times.
Dude.
If anybody wants to show off, man, send us footage and we will highlight and showcase your collection.
I just want to I got a simpler thing. Fuck your whole collection. I just want you to pick one thing you really love and come on. I want to do a thing called the Bone Collector, and we just talk all about that one item. And I'll have 2 or 3 guests on in that one show, and we'll just chop it about that one item. That way I can have you come back many times if you got a big collection. So, you know.
And anybody can play. Anybody has one thing.
Yeah.
That,
it doesn't have to be rare. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be shit. It's just got to be something that you collected that you like. If you like that hanging, glowing fucking plastic bone and that's your shit, take that thing off your ceiling and let's go. That's where mine was hanging from the ceiling, glowing bone.
And as I've said each season, you know, we're always trying to find more and more ways to get everybody engaged. And we hope that this live version of it does that. I felt it was cool tonight. In fact, what was interesting about tonight was I think people got so caught up in the interview that there was a lot of chat going on, but it was like, I think everyone's like, hey man, I don't even want to mess this vibe up. It's such a good vibe. It's such a good story. And it's just captivating that there's nothing to even say because it's like, hey, just let it flow. But if you guys have stuff that you want, make sure you drop those in the comments. And Matt and myself were both, you know, monitoring what's going on there and cutting and pasting anything into our little script that we have of stuff that we want to cover.
Yeah,
and
it's great to have you guys doing that because I feel bad that I can't really watch the chat at all. But like we've talked about during these lives, I have so much going on. I have so much going on in a live without the fucking interview. But I knew I was good for this after we did the season finale. That made me a fucking cut warrior for this. I can do anything. I'm a fucking.
And that 10,000 hours.
40 interviews that night.
You know how 101 was talking about the 10,000 hour. I don't know if you guys follow all the. That's one of those like self-help guru type things.
Dog, that had me so I almost started doing push-ups. I was like, all right, you got to focus, bro. He had me pumped. 101 had me pumped on that shit.
He's got.
I was at least on my $9,000. I was like, damn, 101, talk to him.
Yes, but I had to make sure. Like I was going for that mute button all the time because I was like, oh man, I got just let it go. There was so many things I just want to say yes. But 10,000. I mean, at some point, Beyond the Harmony is going to hit 10,000 hours, and theoretically, we'll be masters at that point. Although I don't know if I ever will be, but Cecil's definitely the master. We put in that 9 hours on that live.
Yeah.
But man, all together, this was superb. Everything I wanted, and then some. We even got stories we didn't think we'd hear. 101 even brought up like things we didn't even realize, and I forgot to write them down because I was just shocked that, like in our own chat, there was so many like gasp moments of things we didn't even realize.
Jesus.
So.
Yeah, I know. When you said there's a multitude of Mo Mondays in this, there really was. He would say certain shit, and I was like, dog, I'll throw this one out. This should be the first one. When they were in Cali and needed to make contact, easy. And it tracks all the way back to the fucking CD that he got when he's a kid.
And then he went and bought the CD at the store to get the number. Like, I thought that was so, like, movie type things. Like, I just got to get to the record store because I got to get Eazy-E's number. And I know it's in a CD, kind of like some National Treasure thing, like where you know where the treasure is and he just needs this number. And that's what got Bone to the next level. So, that was, that part was amazing.
The next level. The next level. We are in the next level and the new season. Ladies and gentlemen, it is season 4, Beyond the Harmony, live all season. My name is Cecil West, rocking with the one and only
Jonathan Lippy.
And the man with the plan with all the news for you.
I am Matthew Weaver.
And it is time. Feenics Ryzin, take us home.
Beyond the harmony for the fans, we celebrate. Uploading the videos every Thursday.